This is Saturday Football on ABC Local Radio.
To the MCG for the first time this year on a Saturday afternoon, right the way around the country through the network of ABC Local Radio. We broadcast online around the world also and on digital radio. You're most welcome to be with us throughout the season for these Saturday afternoons. We step off with Hawthorn against Melbourne. The Hawks are coming off a miserable premiership defence last year where they missed the 8, looking for something better, but they start as they did a year ago without too many of their key players. For Melbourne, well, this is not quite ground zero, but it does see the debut of their 2 new high draft picks, Jack Trengove and Tom Scully, who, if they do rise, they must play a major role in what's to come. Will we see a glimmer of it this afternoon on debut? I certainly hope so. The Demons and the Hawks. Gerard Whateley and Drew Morford to call these matches for you throughout the year. Stan Elves and Mark McClure in place to dissect it and provide all the analysis. Mark, what are you expecting?
Looking at a picture-perfect ground, a magnificent day for football, somewhere around about the 22-degree marker, cloud cover which cuts the sun out. You couldn't pick a better day to play this game of football, and it's the first round for both sides. They both have their different battles. The D's, this is a year of expectation for them. I think their supporters have waited a long time. Got some good young kids in. I know they don't look strong at this stage, but doesn't matter. Now's the time to improve and start to get going. And it starts with their defence. Who's going to take control down there? James Frawley's really improving and starting to become a player. They picked up Joe McDonald from Brisbane to come into that area. Jack Grimes is a player, good young player, and showed he could actually handle it last year. Same with Jamie Burnell. Jared Rivers has to stand up. It's his time to actually stand up and be counted here. And with Matty Warnock, they need to really work hard and start to put an imposing force in that defence and start to work from each other. Their midfield, they've got a difference between experience and youth. They've got Aaron Davey, who won their best and fairest, Cam Bruce, Nathan Jones, and then you've got Trengove, Scully, a few others. They've also got Maloney in there, Lyndon Dunn, all experienced players, but now they need to introduce some of the younger fellas into that area and really blend in and make some youth and exuberance in that area as well. Their forward line, well, they've got to keep the ball in. They've got to work every time inside 50, never to let it out. All the little things that they need to do in that forward line. And Brad Miller, and they've got a really good running forward line when you look at it. Brad Miller can run, Brad Green can run, James McDonald's there, Matty Bate, who's a really good centre-half forward, covers the ground well. Young Jack Trengove, of course, and welcome aboard, son. Ricky Pettard, who we know can play. They have the talent to be able to kick a score, but you've really got to fight to keep it in as well and hang on there and just really work the opposition over. The things that they must do, they must win. They must win the contested ball. That is the real key to this business. They must win the tackle count. They must do, just got to do that. Did I beat my man today? Just 3 little things that I reckon that you work on. Forget about game plans, all that rubbish. That's what you need to work on to become a good side and continual improvement. Expect to win, be positive and be bold, and they got a real chance because the young side, you never know what you can do. The Hawks, well, they're coming off the worst. They were premiers 2 years ago, and last year they didn't make the 8, which is a really bad run for them. That was shocking in a sense. In defence, they brought in Gibson because they needed to get some more defenders in, and Josh Gibson comes in. Grant Birchall's there, Thomas Murphy's there, Rick Latson is back, which is great. Stephen Gillam and Brent Guerra. It looks okay. It looks reasonably solid. It looks like they can do that, but I think that's their weakest line. I think that's their weakest area, and they know that, and they've really had to work on those sorts of things. Their midfield, it's very good. You got Xavier Ellis, Sam Mitchell, Jordan Lewis. You got Luke Hodge, and Gary Moss in there. You also throw a couple of other fellas in there as well to run through the middle of the ground. They've also in their forward line, that's the key. They've got no Franklin. They've got no Rioli. Makes a huge difference because they're the ones who kick all the goals. They're the actual 40 or 50% of their goal-kicking ability gone there. But Roughhead needs to stand up. They put Campbell Brown there for a bit of toughness. They got Jared Morton, who's obviously the brother of the Mortons, who one from Melbourne and one from Richmond as well. He can play. They all can play. Michael Osmond's there. They got Sholem Makers, who they're going to try and make a centre-half forward. He's got a good style about him. He's got a good frame, and he looks like he can play a little bit. In the middle, they haven't got a ruckman. Renouf's come back. He's been pretty ordinary for a year or so, and that's really their real problem. They've got to trust their teammates again. They've got to learn how to do that. Trust your teammates. and get that winning confidence back, Stan. And it's good to have you back.
It's good to be here and listen to you, mate. As usual, you finish your summary and I've got nothing to say. It's absolutely terrific. No, I have. I'd like to add a couple of things to that, Mark, that I'm looking forward to today. And I think you so much of what you said was just spot on. But to me, if I can look at the Hawks, isn't it amazing that we can get to this professional level of football, that we're coming off a situation where they've played a season way below what they expected, and yet they go in today with 8 of their best players missing. 8 out, now 2 because they were silly and got reported, Franklin Baton, 2 super players, but also, and I know some of them are because of contact injury, but to lose the players that they're missing out there, that's a massive thing, and so they're going with I would think with a side far below their best. Now, it means that they're going to bring new players in. That's fantastic. We're going to look at them. We're going to look at new players from both sides, without a doubt whatsoever. Critical thing for me, though, I want to look at game plan. I want to look at Hawthorn for a start. Hawthorn built this fantastic game plan around the fact of what they do for the back half, and they controlled it. We saw last year when you took some cogs out of that they were dismantled, and what was a strength became a weakness. Have they rectified that? Are they able to do it? You talked about the players are going. They've brought Gibson in. Gibson, obviously the obvious one for Crode. Can he stand up and do that job that Crode was doing to help him, or is it going to have to be young Sean Marcus, who is the boy who's going to go ahead? We're looking at that. I'm looking at not only the young guys, but I'm also looking at Gibson and Ran Hooper. Ran Hooper coming in. Has he got rid of his demons? The kid could play, but Brisbane got rid of him. So are they going to be able to turn around his approach in the game from that point of view? From a Melbourne's perspective point of view, they, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years have been so obsessed with draft picks, so obsessed with getting the right mix that they've forgot we need to develop a game plan. That when I've watched them in the years gone by, and this is not a criticism per se, but it's a reality of what's happened. When you bring so many people in, people unsure of what their position, you know what? People play self-preservation footy. They don't think about the team. They've now got to consolidate this group. And what they've got to do is get them so there's no confusion. When a player gets the ball, his teammates should know what to do. That's what Melbourne's got to do. If there's nothing out of this season, and I would expect we're going to start to see it today, we've got to see those type of things. There again, because they're missing some good players out of today, they've brought some kids in. Have they brought too many in at the one time? Are they ready to go? At necessity. It's a thing, and out of that, guess what? Out of crisis, you can get opportunity, you can stand up in that way. Absolutely. So I'm looking from that point of view. There is so much in this game. It's interesting when you look at the draw and you come down and you say, oh, gosh, we got the Melbourne Hawthorn game. Why go there? There's a lot riding on this game. There's a lot to see within this game. I think Hawthorn win. You know why? Because I think the thing that they've got more so than what Melbourne at this point in time, they have on-field leaders. They have on-field leaders who I think are going to be better equipped because they've been in recent times to the heat of battle, and I think they'll be able to really muster their troops around them and take over. Melbourne will have a go at them, but I would expect that as the game goes on, the mature bodies, the experience of Hawthorn would wear them down.
Bit of intel for you. Adam White stays close to these things during the week. Whitey?
Good afternoon, Jared. There's something about opening weekend of the AFL, isn't there? You can just feel down here at ground level the optimism from both sets of fans. That includes the Melbourne fans. I reckon that last night we had both captains playing each other. Cameron Ling went to Joe Watson. My understanding is that James McDonald might go to Sam Mitchell and follow him wherever he may go. And also Aaron Davey might be playing just predominantly up inside 50 and be a goal-scoring option for the Demons. So we'll see whether those two things eventuate. Also, there's a bit of a rumour circling down here. I can't have it confirmed, but a lot of people are talking about it, that man under the helmet doing those jumps on the motorbike was none other than the ABC's Dan Lonigan. Now, I can't confirm it, but there's a rumour circling down here that Dan was the man.
Serial killer.
Jumps.
Who are you tipping, Mark?
I'm going for Melbourne. Yeah. I think that there's a little expectation about them that they really want to try and improve, and today's the day that if you're going to get Hawthorn, today's the day.
And if there's a chance that they win, Aaron Davies got to play forward.
He's got to
play mid, forward, not round the back, not running around the back. And fantastic effort, picking up cheap kicks, because what will happen is that you will save a game but you won't win it.
He's actually set up forward.
Well, according to the odds, the Hawks are $1.25 and the Demons $4.80. So if the D's don't let you down, Mark, you could have a nice money sort of a day.
I have had a little go at them.
Have you? Good.
Yeah.
Players heading out to their positions to begin their seasons. Melbourne and Hawthorn, both riddled with injuries. For Melbourne, no Wanamiri, Jarrah, Morton and Sylvia. Missing for Hawthorn, Rioli, Sewell, Taylor, Franklin, Sean Burgoyne, Bateman and Young. But it's what's out there to decide the contest this afternoon. The D's and the Hawks. Drew Morford on Grandstand AFL.
Jamar and Renouf to face each other in the ruck. The bounce is a pearler. It goes straight up a mile. Jamar wins the hit out. It's rowed by Maloney for the D's. He kicks inside the 50. Jones drops a chest mark. Scratched by Davey. A high ball towards the goal square. He's offline and it floats through for a minor score. But they got a score within 14 seconds and Flash Davey is on the forward line.
Well, yeah, just what you want to see.
And stop the game.
Brent Guerra on the kick in. He goes long and direct. Carl Peterson is on debut. He's up to take the mark. Gives his hand pass away to Mitchell, who flicks it on now to Josh Gibson. First act as a Hawk. Kicks it up to halfway. Disputed ball. Not won by Morton. In pursuit of him is Rivers. He did a good job for the Demons. Lost the footy though at the end. It was paddled on. Schoenmakers cuts it off. Gives it to Lewis. Around to Mitchell. Back to Schoenmakers. It's a scrap. The D's close.
Wow.
They win holding the ball.
That was a three-man tackle. Who do you give the free to?
This is when they've been at their best, Melbourne, in recent times. It's just been often when they've tackled with a frenzy about them.
McDonald takes the free and finds Bate. Bate kicks to the 50, beautifully delivered, and Pettard takes the mark about 55 metres from goal. Great southern stand side. The Demons going to the punt road end in the first quarter. Grey and overcast, temperature low 20s. He tries to get round the man on the mark and then pokes a short pass. It barely goes 15 metres, but the mark has been taken by Maloney.
And they've got to work it around. Look, Maloney is a good kick. He's right on the boundary, but they've had to do that because, as you would expect, Hawthorn have pushed virtually nearly everybody bar two players into defence as Maloney's now laid it off to Green.
Oh, Green, another short pass by Maloney. Good use of the ball by the Demons, and Brad Green diving takes a slips catch. He's close to the boundary line, but he's now only about 30 metres from goal. Can he thread this? Great start by the D's. A behind by Davey in the first 15 seconds. And now Brad Green, can he get a goal? The left foot opens the angle, but it's across the face of goal. And another behind. The Demons 2 points, Hawthorn yet to score. Adam White.
It was a summer track watch star for Melbourne so far over the summer. It's been Brent Maloney. You can actually see he looks a lot fitter than in previous years. No injury concerns, so we're going to watch him for the start of the year because I reckon he's going to have a good start.
Guerra went long and straight with the first kick in. This he dabs to himself, runs out into the pocket, delivers up to half-back. Renouf marks, slips the hand pass away to Lewis, kicks it around the southern wing, puts under pressure there. Pettard was coming hard and was able to make the spoil, but he's given away a free kick in doing so. And it was Jared Morton who had front position and comes up with the footy. Across the centre line. Morton just walks sort of into the field of play, committed to play on, has to kick long. Renouf is in the pack. It falls Melbourne's way. Grimes to Maloney to Joel McDonald. Clever little tap on by Bennell out in front of Green. He's lost it though. Sam Mitchell guns down from behind. He'll be penalised holding the ball. The tackler.
Rivers.
Well done, Rivers.
Off to Davey, whose kick is knocked down by Peterson for the Hawks. He gets them going forward, but they've turned it over. Davey gets it again. Hand pass back to Bennell. Through the middle they come. Hand pass to Green. Short pass went about 3 metres. Why'd you do that? To Bruce. They share the ball so often. Jones kicks up towards the 50, but getting back in defence is Birchall for the Hawks. Away to Gibson, the former Kangaroo. Oh, here's a beautiful pass to Osborne out in open territory. Osborne marks and runs to the 50 and goes long for goal. Michael Osborne, what a goal. Glorious play by the Hawks. And after two forward sorties by the D's, Hawthorn find themselves in front. A goal to two behinds.
Well, look, Melbourne are full of enthusiasm and attack on the football, but that was a case in point with just a little bit of overuse. And Brad Green probably really the culprit. I mean, he's did about a 3 metre little chip kick to a teammate who was just under pressure. They were caught out. Then all of a sudden they have to do a big kick. Now what's happened is that the Melbourne players are all then pushed forward. There's a ball won by the Hawthorn defence. Osmond's in the clear. He comes, shows great composure, great experience. 1 bounce, 2 bounce, looks up, bang, drills the first goal for the Hawks.
Hawks by 4 at the bounce in the middle. Renoff and Jamar. Jamar won it, but it was about hip height when he did. Didn't clear the congestion. It's a stack up. We'll do it again.
Grant Birchall has picked up Jack Tringrove, just for the Melbourne people. Jack Tringrove starting on the wing.
Jamar wins a tap straight down to Mitchell, dragged off his kick. Trengove, his first hand pass, didn't find a teammate. Peterson's got it for the Hawks. He was collared high. Had to be a whistle, wasn't there? Birchall chips the Hawks advantage forward on the advantage. Osborne links it up with Hodge, trying to get through 3, slips to ground under the tackles. Hand pass that keeps the ball alive and in their possession. Will it amount to anything for the Hawks? Lewis is dispossessed. It's pretty tight around the footy. Lewis's hand pass was cut off by Green. What a little touch in there by Aaron Davey. He set it out near Pettard. It comes to the wing. Onto it is Jamar, who chipped them forward. Bennell is streaming in that direction. Marks plays on, puts them inside 50. 4-man pack, crushed by Miller. Gathered by Gibson for the Hawks.
Gets the hand pass away to Ladson, and Ladson kicks to centre half back. Renouf Marks low to the ground. Little hand pass away to Hodge, who kicks across the half back line. And good use of the ball. And the mark taken by Gillum. Great Southern stand side. Feeds out the hand pass to Ellis. Ellis off the left towards centre wing. Ladson had kept on going, but the pass missed him. Jamar is there. Getting in there for the Hawks is Hooper. He's taken the ground in a good tackle. Melbourne tackling like, would you believe, demons. Ball just outside the 50. Hawthorn's attacking zone, and the umpire's given them plenty of time to get it out, and it'll be a baller. Adam White.
Drew Matthew Bates come to the bench under the blood rule. He really got hit very heavily in a marking exchange before, as Tom Scully comes on for his first run. Alistair Clarkson coaching from the bench.
Hawks by 4 points in attack. It's been a lot of the Demons, though, up until this point. Birchall with a hand pass out the back to Ladson. He kicks the full forward. Roughhead 1-on-1 with Warnock. And Roughhead clunks the mark. Strong, authoritative play from the Hawks spearhead. He's directly in front and only 20 metres from goal. Left foot drop punters there. The Hawks double up. After 7 minutes, they're 2 straight. Melbourne 2 behind.
No, it's a classic play by a pretty good side in Hawthorn. They set up a ball up at about the 50-metre mark. All of a sudden it goes the Melbourne way, and they set up and they hit back. They handball back into someone whose space, which is Birchall. And then a little chip handball over to Ladson, who actually banged it long to about 10 metres outside the square. Guess who was there? The big fella, Roughhead. Too strong, in front, really good mark, and go back. But a basic, simple play of feedback, get some space, and then use long to the right spot. Well done, Hawks.
Campbell Brown is down here behind the play. There was a group of the 16 defenders sort of dispersed, and there was Campbell Brown crumpled on the ground, and he's got 4 trainers around him, and he is in some discomfort and distress.
The ump gets the game underway, though, and Jamar wins it out down to James McDonald, who take a free kick. He works his way clear, hand pass to Rivers. Rivers pumps Melbourne inside the 50 again. No mark, flips off hands. Comes to Suckling, who's just come off the interchange bench for the Hawks. He kicks the ball out wide. Birchall doesn't get a kind bounce. He's under pressure. Outnumbered 2-1. And it's won by the Demons. The hand pass comes to Jones. And the free kick is going to go to Melbourne. And it is young Tringo. Takes it quickly. Down towards the forward pocket. Miller leads but can't quite take the mark. And spills the ball over the boundary line. And Jack Trengove on debut. The number 2 draft pick from Sturt.
Yeah, they'll be pleased he won it in a 1-on-1 contest too. Got in, really good hard contest at the young fella. Good one to get the nerves out of the way.
And Brad Miller led to the wrong spot, which he actually sucked the kid into kick to him, which he shouldn't have.
Boundary throw-in came up short. Mitchell extricated it from in there, though, through Lewis. Now to Gibson. He gives it off to Ellis, just about run down. Ron Hooper gets a touch. Suckling, now again to Ellis. The Hawks get out of half-back. They did it with a labour of work, but did it well. It'll break down, though, when James Strauss comes across for Melbourne. Kicks them out toward the boundary. Maloney's on the sprawl, taking the mark under the southern stand.
He does look in fine fettle. Squares the ball back in. The mark's taken by Strauss. Strauss on debut. Second round pick in 08. Shoulder reconstruction last year. Ruined his season. He kicks out wide. It's Hawthorn claim it's out on the full, but it's off hands and it's going to be thrown in. Up towards centre wing, Great Southern stand side. Goodly crowd here.
Young Scully made great position, but unfortunately it was a poor kick.
In ruck, Reniff wins it. But they're swamped by Melbourne's tackling, and they are tackling in numbers and giving them no room at all. Even though the Hawks have 2 goals, Melbourne's start has been promising. They're 2 behinds.
Plenty of players around it. James McDonald and Sam Mitchell, the skippers, side by side. Disputed ball out near the logo. Renoff got some sort of hand pass. Mitchell will get a touch. He got it from Kayla Thompson. Kicks into the middle of the ground. Sliding mark taken. The Hawks will come through half forward. Bouncing ball. Campbell Brown seems to be okay. He gets it out of there. Jared Morton is onto it. Delivers into the pocket. It comes up trumps for Hawthorn because Moss is on the lead and taking the mark.
I reckon they've been inside 53 times and they're just about to kick their 3rd goal.
Angle to the right. Moss can see plenty of daylight between the posts though. Edges out to the left. Sends the kick on its way. They won't miss early, the Hawks. Moss is on the board. It's 3 straight to 2 behinds after 11 minutes of the opening term.
Mark, the thing that's standing out for me in a moment is that Melbourne are fantastic putting all this endeavour in, but it's actual composure and it's also set up. That whenever Melbourne's winning the footy, by the time it's getting kicked into their forward line, because they're probably using too much of a defensive handball rather than an offensive, there are numbers and Hawthorn get numbers. When it's going into the Hawthorn forward lines you mentioned, massive open spaces. Players are actually, and the forwards are able to dictate, tell them to kick the ball where they want to. And Melbourne's got to do something about organising themselves better, because right at this point of time, all that wonderful endeavour is being lost from that point of view.
And Mark, you're absolutely right. Melbourne inside 55 times for 2 behinds. Hawthorn 3 times for 3 goals. Reniff wins the hit out in the middle. Ball comes Melbourne's way though, taken away by McKenzie. But the whistle's gone. It's going to be a free kick here to the Hawks and will be taken by Jordan Lewis, just alongside the circles. Will fan out wide. Wide lead offered by Brown, but the kick behind to Roughhead. He gets one hand to it, not enough. Frawley's there for Melbourne. Taken to ground by Campbell Brown. Ball spills to Roughhead. Throws the ball on the boot. Back into the corridor. Taken here by the big ruckman Spencer. He's dispossessed, and the ball now at ground level. The Hawks have it again. Lewis snaps from 40 metres. He's missed. The first miss for the Hawks. They're 3-1, and Melbourne 2 behinds after 12 and a quarter minutes.
Been a busy player, Lewis.
Someone's down.
Yeah, Melbourne player down.
Adam.
Now, I'm not sure who it is, but he's in a lot of pain, and I don't think it's a head injury. I think this might be a leg injury. It's very hard to tell from where I am at ground level because I don't have that elevated view, but they're calling for the stretcher.
Oh, is it Brad Green?
I've got a feeling it might be, but I don't like guessing. Jared? Play's going to stop.
They stopped it.
Yeah.
I think it is Brad Green. I think I can see the number from here. He was punching the turf. He was in such distress. So this doesn't look good.
Well, wouldn't this be awful if Brad Green has a serious injury to his leg in the first quarter of the first game?
And he is in that despondent manner in which you have to fear that it's going to be a long-termer. He's got the 4 medical staff around him and the stretcher's been placed on the turf by his side.
Started well too, 5 possessions in the opening 18 minutes or 13 minutes.
We haven't seen the replay of this, but there is some suggestion that it might be a neck injury.
Yeah, they appear to be supporting
the
his
replay
head.
now. Oh yes, he's gone in. He slid in. He slid in a contest, and he's made contact with young Kayla Thompson. I'm pretty sure it was. And
yeah, it was.
It's an accidental one, but you can see his head is sort of snapped to the side.
Well, it's a particularly nasty injury.
He's not unconscious.
No.
He's up. He's awake, which is good.
The neck brace is on, which is the precaution that is taken in these instances. And he's been rolled very carefully sideways to place the stretcher in underneath.
Well, the D's have to stand up now. This is the time they got together. They've actually started to meld together and start to talk. And I think it's a really good thing because they've been winning the ball extremely well, but use of the ball has been very poor. It's too short, it's too wide, and I know that they like to kick the ball and hit targets and be pretty, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with taking a chance. Have a bang. Let's get it up there. Put some pressure on the opposition. I think they need to do that.
And Mark, just to add to that, because if you play that brand of football, you're playing to a side like Hawthorn's hands because they're able to get their formation right in the back. And the more you overuse the ball, the more you go out wide and things like that, unless you're totally in control, by the time you actually dispose the footy, you look up and what you see is you see the opposition outnumbering your forwards. And you get a situation where then what will happen is it's early days, but then I felt that, like you called it so much, that then Brad Miller, he looked for where's the safest place to run to get the footy. He ran to the boundary, and it's really not the place where you want to go.
Yeah.
I know the consequences are absolutely shocking here for Brad Green, who is leaving the ground on the golf buggy. But just a tick for a kid on debut, not a kid, Jared Thompson really got in hard and put his body in between opponent and ball. He's from the Geelong Falcons, went over to Perth. He's 24 years of age, making his league debut.
It's one of those great ones.
Just the sort of ones you were talking about.
Got through the system, and the kid showed an enormous amount of courage, was prepared to move the other side of the country to try and resurrect his footy career, and he's now got an opportunity.
It's a concerning moment as Brad Green has taken off on the stretcher. He departs the scene. This was game 199 for the 29-year-old. We wish him all the best, fingers crossed. Kayla Thompson is, he was the man involved. It's Strauss who's kicking in for Melbourne. They work it outside the 50. Bate has it. He drives it long around the southern wing. Dunn sets himself in the contest. No mark taken. The Hawks will come away. Guerra works it up through the middle. It's Birchall who gets it on. Suckling inside the 50 and Roughhead is on the lead. Strong footy from the Hawks, and Roughhead can go back and line up his second.
Geez, looking the goods in the absence of Buddy.
Angled out to the left. He'll kick from 35 metres. Skips in, Roughhead, off only a couple of steps. He pushed it across the face. It's not his usual kicking style. I would have thought 3-2-20 as he misses. Melbourne 2 behinds. We've gone 17 minutes of what will now be a long quarter.
James Strauss on debut. This is a tough gig, having to kick in the AFL in your first game. He pinpoints Cameron Bruce in the back pocket, who hand passes away to Bennell. Bennell approaches defensive 50, shrugs a tackle well, off the Bate. Back it goes to Bruce, back to Bennell. Oh, it's chopped off by Guerra. There was a hospital handball. Guerra, beautiful pass, and Moss takes the mark about 35 metres from goal.
It looked like to me that they were over at the local oval just handballing over the top to everyone, but they forgot that there was an opposition around the joint who actually cut in and try and take the ball off them. You need to clear the area the best possible way you can to space. Had players up on the wing, but they wanted a handball mad.
Gary Moss from about 40 metres. His left foot kick is beautiful. What a drop punt that was. And Hawthorn are 4-2, Melbourne 2 behinds.
Yeah, and the Hawks are dominating. They're actually starting to show. They're actually they're just killing them on their mistakes. Every time the D's make a mistake, Hawthorn kick a goal. And they probably should have kicked a couple more as well. They had a couple of easy shots, and Roughhead missed an easy one then before. They should be 5 or 6 goals at this stage, and they're not. But they are dominating on the Melbourne mistakes. Melbourne are winning the ball, running well, but playing too pretty, far too pretty, trying to hit targets 20 metres away, handballs over the top. You know, I look good, but no effect at all.
This will have a deflating impact on Melbourne fans who have come with some form of hope. Their team trails by 4 goals, and Brad Green has left the field with what looks like a serious injury. Jamar is in the middle winning the tap. Miller coming through off the square gives it to Pettard. He's immediately in tackles, and there's no escaping there. The outer of the 2 circles. Geordie McKenzie is in the middle. Jamar wins the tap down to Maloney. He won't break clear. So they've got Grimes around the footy, McKenzie, Jones, Maloney as pretty well their prime movers, and Rivers trying to get there as the third man up. He's kept away from it. Jamar another tap straight into the grasp of Hodge, and he can't get clear.
It'd be good if the Melbourne players actually cleared the area.
Yeah.
Jamar needs to knock it into the open instead of dropping it down, because that's where Hawthorn live.
Jamar got up there. There's a free kick off the ball. Who has seen what? It's a Hawthorn free kick. There was some holding on happening at the stoppage, and Carl Peterson comes up with it. The 22-year-old goes inside the 50. He's put this to it. Roughhead's advantage. He can't hang on. Frawley at ground level. The Demon defender is okay. He works it away. Oh, they link up by hand until it breaks down hopelessly. It'll come back. Hodge trying to get through the congestion. His kick is smothered. Jones slips underneath for the Demons. He gave it up. Well, this is pretty ugly stuff. They pile in and the ball will be lost in there somewhere and back to your neutral corners.
Yes, no doubt. This game's now played on Hawthorn terms because Melbourne, you're playing big bodies. Don't clog it up. I mean, open it up. Force the game open, because their superior skills of Hawthorn are just going to chop you to pieces.
Jamar wins the hit out. There's a free kick, though, around the stoppage, and the free goes to Hodge of the Hawks. Hawthorn lead 26-2. Kick by Hodge inside the 50. Jones gets there but juggles it, can't complete the mark. Comes underfoot. Little hand pass. Bruce goes to Jones, who was under the pump. Jones gets a hand pass out in desperation. Spinning through there is Strauss for Melbourne. They've lost it once more. Little hand pass comes away to Williams. A high ball towards full forward. Roughhead can't mark. Out in the front. Snap the goal by Osborne. He kicks his second. And Hawthorn killing Melbourne on the D's mistakes. The Hawks 5-2 to 2 behind.
Yeah, exactly right, Drew. They are killing them, and as I said, it's now played on Hawthorn's turns. Hawthorn now, this is fantastic. It's what we want. We've got a young side, small bodies and everything like that, and they want to play contested in close footy. Hey, this is our forte. And they're just feeding off them, and they're just you've seen the Melbourne boys getting their hands on the ball. Their first thought is just to try and handball, but they just can't find a target. The Hawthorn players, very, very smart. They're just picking them off, and when they're doing, they're able to go forward. Really clever scouting, total control. It's a this is one I talk about where you want leadership amongst your group, amongst your Melbourne senior players. They've got to do something to actually try and stem what's going on now.
Melbourne lost a season opener to Hawthorn a couple of years ago by 100 points. This has got ominous signs about it already. It's 30 points, middle stages of the opening term. Hard to win any clearance, no possessions through it. It'll be bounced for a second time. Outside the circles on this occasion, Renouf and Jamar lean into each other. Renouf the tap. A whistle again off the play, and again it's a Melbourne player who's been pinged for hanging on.
How many is that? 5?
I reckon. Mitchell brings it out to the broadcast wing. Good, quick, decisive move. Schoenmaker's marks. Poor kick up to the 50. Hasn't been cleared by Frawley. Campbell Brown has hold of him. Ball is held into the midriff, and the umpire trots in to bounce. Men in green this afternoon, Shane Stewart, Chris Camelons, and this man, Scott McLaren, who puts it into the turf. Renouf swipes it away, but Jones will claim it in defence for Melbourne. Hand pass. Oh, good luck to you, Joel McDonald. He got the ball and they all surged at him. It spills out of play.
Nearly every Melbourne hand pass has come with a big red cross on it. Throw in at half forward for the Hawks. Jamar at the back, wins the hit out. Jones gets a little touch, works the ball across, hand pass by Scully, again into trouble, and now a Melbourne free kick for a high tackle. And listen to the Melbourne members. At last, thank you very much. And the free to Geordie McKenzie. Played 3 games last year. Across the ground he goes to Bruce. Here it comes to Trengove. The future. Gets it away to Joel McDonald, the former Brisbane Lion. He kicks wide, very wide. Good heavens, that missed bait by 20 metres, and he was lucky it bounced out of bounds for a throw-in rather than go out on the full. The free kick's not that one-sided. Hawthorn 6-5.
Now the D's are starting to doubt themselves. That's the problem. They've lost their mojo, lost their confidence.
You've got to growl at somebody, Drew, don't you?
Oh.
Mitchell gets a kick away from...
You've waited all summer to have a yell at the umpires.
It's pretty aimless. Cut off by Scully. He gives it to Strauss. So 2 of the debutants combine. The kick up to McDonald. That's the skipper. James can't control it. It's out of play. Southern side of the ground. 32 plays 2. It's Hawthorn in front. Birchall actually gets the tap on this occasion. It's underfoot. Free kick called. Melbourne free kick. And James McDonald getting some rough treatment from Sam Mitchell. Goes sideways with his kick. It's marked by Joel McDonald. He sends it inside the 50. Miller sets himself with Dunn. No mark taken. Ground level. It's sturdy stuff again by the Hawks. Murphy's been very steady. Gibson has a touch. So too Schoenmakers. Brings it out through half-back. Birchall and Gibson again. And now Ellis, and he kicks beyond halfway. Ran Hooper marks. Flicks his hand past to Gibson. Working up the field. Put her on the chest of Roughhead, and he spilled the beans. Hit him on the chest on the slide. Escaped his grasp. Out of play inside the 50.
Just trying to make a game of it. Here's a throw in the forward pocket. Jamar wins the hit out towards the boundary line. It comes to Scully, number 1 draft pick. They work in tight quarters, Melbourne. A hand pass comes back through Jones. It goes to Warnock. And across the ground from Scully. Well marked at left half back by Rivers. Rivers steers the pass for Dunn, who slides in, drops an absolute pie. Has a chance to recover and passes all the way back to Rivers, and they start again. Jared Rivers at halfback pokes the pass up, and the mark's taken by McKenzie. Geordie McKenzie, another former Geelong Falcon. Short pass into Davey. Here he is working behind the centre line, back out wide to McKenzie. Members wing, kicked by McKenzie, short of half forward. Dunn for the second time in the movement. Gets a Bronx cheer for taking this one.
Has a look forward, not a lot doing. Has to pump it in long and hope for the best. He sets it high. Pettard's the flyer. Probably should have hung on because he did get both mitts around it. Schoenmakers will be run down by Bate. He got half a kick away and it landed with Peterson. Hand pass into the congestion. Peterson follows up. Gets monstered. Joel McDonald took him high though. And Peterson escapes with his life and a free kick. Hand pass to Mitchell. Works it up now to Kayla Thompson. Sets it up inside the 50. Another one-on-one. Roughhead's in front. Warnock makes the spoil. He's going to need support. Scully arrives. Roughhead cleans him up. Ball in dispute. Lewis is over it in the back. Jordan Lewis with a free kick. 55 out from goal. He looks steep forward and then kicks shallow out to the pocket. Gary Moss, who's been very lively. He took the mark, gave off the hand pass, kick to the teeth of goal. Mark has taken enough of it by Strauss. Melbourne are a real muddle in defence here. Barely a possession to be had. They cough it up. It doesn't cost them immediately. It's back out of play. Adam White.
You get the feeling that Hawthorn knows who Scully and Tringove are because they have been belted every time they've had possession of the footy.
Just like Jack Watts was last year by Collingwood on Anzac Day. From the stoppage, it comes to Hodge. He gets the hand pass forward. Chopped off by Joel McDonald. He's kicked it a country mile and draws the cheers from the Melbourne fans. It's punched down to the front. Whistle's gone. It's going to be another Hawthorn free kick. They wanted to take advantage. Gibson was cruising towards the attacking 50, but the ball's got to come all the way back and will be taken by Murphy, who squares it up to Schoenmakers in the centre circles. Close to quarter time. Melbourne might start the season with the goalless quarter. Schoenmakers kicks inside the 50. Roughhead again. Sandwich. Down he goes. At the back, Frawley gets back. James Frawley for the D's. Beats a tackle. Hand pass away to Warnock. Back to Frawley. Frawley pokes the pass outside the 50. Bruce juggles, but marks. Hawks 5-2. Melbourne 2 behinds.
Hand passes away to James McDonald, who lost his way just a little. Kicks to half-back. Scully dropped it. Had the hand pass back in a hurry. It's going to turn over, you would think. Ran Hooper against the boundary. Paddles it to Lewis. Lewis trying to break through. Trying to do too much. James McDonald got him. He'll win a holding the ball call. Any sketch of the game plan, Stan?
Yeah.
Must still be on the whiteboard.
Whatever it is, Hawthorn knows it.
James McDonald kicks to fullback. It's dropped and then dumped is Strauss. Campbell Brown with the final indignity picks up the ball, snaps it through for a goal. If you're a Demons fan, it's deja vu and it's oh so awful. Hawthorn 6-2-38, Melbourne 2 behinds.
Well, if you put pressure on an ordinary side like Melbourne has been for some time, and they're trying out a brand new game plan, you will kill them, because they actually don't know exactly where to go now. They're gone. They're chipping back into spaces. They're trying to hit small handballs 1 yard to people who are in the same spot, get tackled by someone else, and all of a sudden they're crowding them in, the Hawks. They're putting more pressure on. As they keep doing it, there's more pressure applied, and Campbell Brown again just chased his man into the forward line there. All of a sudden he just went bang, put some pressure on him. It's fumbled, one fumble, see you later, gone. And that's been happening all over the ground. They are just destroying them, teaching them a lesson actually.
I think Strauss just went for a stroll in the streets of New York and was mugged. Ball comes down to James McDonald. He kicks out of the circles and Pettard marks overhead, 49 metres from goal. Kick a goal before the siren. He steers the pass to Dunn, who chest marks. Out wide though, and he's still 35 to 40 from goal. Can Lyndon Dunn break the goal drought for the D's? They trail 6-2 to 2 behinds, 38 to 2.
At least that was more positive. They got one a centre bounce and banged it into their forward line. So you trust the forwards. Give them some trust.
And there was good leadership by the skipper. James McDonald out of the middle. Booped a ball. Advanced at 45, 50 metres. Done. Gets inside the 50. And kicks from about 35. He's missed to the right-hand side. So it does look as though they might nearly go through this first quarter of the season goalless. It is 6-2 to 3 behinds. Adam White.
Interesting times down here on the Melbourne bench. Aaron Davies just gone down to the rooms. Didn't send me under too much discomfort, but he's gone the rooms nonetheless.
Gone to Sideman of the Gold Coast.
The Hawks bring it out from defence. Lewis kicks it up to Brown, who misses the next target in Hodge.
Well, they've got a meeting down there.
He wants out. And what was the result, Whitey? You know.
No idea. Just spare a thought for people that back Melbourne today, boys.
Ball went out of bounds from the throw-in. It's Melbourne's attacking side of the middle. Hodge gets a possession for Hawthorn. Shares it with Mitchell. Looks to half forward. Sets it in the Ryan Hooper direction. Rivers beats him cold. Marks and then is dragged down by Hooper. Rivers took too long. Hooper wins the holding the ball free kick. Hand pass to Ladson. Looked forward, had to go sideways. Peterson's had a bit of it early. Hand pass to Mitchell. Hand pass to Gibson. He's on the logo. He makes the decisive move inside the 50. Ill-directed. Grimes traps it. He didn't mark it, so he's got to go quickly. Warnock's under pressure from Moss. Hand pass to Joel McDonald. Back in the direction of Warnock, but out of bounds. They don't get out of the defensive area at Melbourne.
Which proves you can come from Brisbane's system, pick up Melbourne's system and hand pass straight out of bounds. Close to quarter time. 38 plays 3 at the boundary throw-in. Might give it to Spencer. Back towards the boundary line. And run over the boundary is Carl Peterson, and we'll have a throw-in. Brad Green is walking the boundary line here and getting loud applause from the Melbourne members. That's great to see, because the last time we saw him, he was on the golf buggy with a neck brace on. He's got a tracksuit top on, but walking apparently pretty freely. Here's Hawthorn, up to the 50. Run down as Guerra from behind. The crumbs come to Frawley. Gets the hand pass away to Joel McDonald. He concedes some ground back to Tringo. And a short pass across the ground. And the mark has been taken by Dunn, working deep in defence. Short pass by him finds Bennell.
Bennell, short for Frawley, defensive 50. Trengove in the vicinity. He won't be used. A chip up the line for Maloney. He's tipped it out on the full. That's woeful.
Oh, they just got this short chip thing. Is that their new plan? Chip, 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 chip. You just get chopped up.
Gary Moss, the gift of a free kick. He sends it up to half forward. Mark is taken by Shields. He gives it off. Long kick from Ladson, who's roosted it to the square. It's off hands. Touched for a behind. 6-3 the Hawks to 3 behinds. Melbourne after 33 minutes. Whitey?
Jared, really good signs with Brad Green. He's come to the bench, high-fiving his teammates. He's just stretching his neck as we speak. I don't know whether he's going to come back on, but he's certainly showing signs like he wants to.
Lyndon Dunn drops another pie and has given the Hawks a chance inside their 50. Under pressure, Joel McDonald. His hand pass away. Sam Mitchell backs into trouble. McDonald has it. Actually, Sam Mitchell's been pretty quiet. The siren sounds, finishing a dominant quarter by the Hawks. And the umpire is having something to say here. Has he paid a free kick on the siren? No. That is quarter time. Hawthorn 6-3-39. Melbourne 3 behinds. And Melbourne started so promisingly, wasted a couple of shots, and then Hawthorn went bang, 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 and absolutely killed them. 2 goals to Michael Osborne, 2 to Gary Moss, singles for Jared Ruffhead and Campbell Brown. A clean sheet for Melbourne as far as goals are concerned. 6-3-39 to 3 behinds at quarter time.
This is Grandstand AFL across the length and breadth of the nation on ABC Local Radio, also on digital radio, Radio Australia, and online at afl.com.au.
Series 2 of the critically acclaimed BBC drama The Lakes is now available on DVD.
You never loved me.
I did love you.
You compromised. You made do.
This series continues to explore an English subculture rarely visited by British dramas.
So what I want to know is, when you make a point in an argument, do you actually think I'm totally wrong here? No. Well, therefore you must always think you're right, just like me.
Thought-provoking and controversial, The Lakes is available from ABC Shops, Centres and ABC Shop Online.
Grandstand AFL.
Oh, here's a beautiful pass to Osborne out in open territory. Osborne marks and runs to the 50 and goes long for goal. Michael Osborne, what a goal. Glorious play by the Hawks.
And he kicks the ball forward. Ruffhead one-on-one with Gordon. And Ruffhead punks the mark. Left foot drop punters there. The Hawks double up.
Little hand pass comes away to Williams. A high ball towards full forward. Ruffhead can't mark. Out the front. Snap the goal by Osborne. He kicks his second. And Hawthorn killing Melbourne on the D's mistakes.
James McDonald kicks to fullback. It's dropped. And then dump is Strauss. Campbell Brown with the final indignity. Picks up the ball. Snaps it through for a goal. If you're a Demons fan, it's deja vu. And it's oh so good.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio.
6-3 to 3 behinds to quarter time. Stan Elves, Mark McCrory.
Well, Melbourne, the first 4 minutes, I thought there would have been optimism in the red and blue camp. They were up and running, showing an enormous appetite for the game. They took it up to Hawthorn, got the ball into their forward line, had a couple of chances, and wow, we thought we had a game on. Well, it was just about, that was the finish of it for them, because from then on it really was absolutely magnificent by Hawthorn. They took total control of this game in every aspect. Around the packs, they were just stronger. Hodge in there, just again the marshal, just winning the footy at ease in there. The setup that happened in there, Lewis getting a lot of the footy in there. Mitchell started to accumulate. When you get these blokes who are starting to get it, they're on top. The critical thing was that they exerted their bodies and they were much stronger. And Melbourne played into their hands because Melbourne clogged the game up. I mean, they brought the contest in to make it in those situations, and you could just see the Hawks absolutely just licking their chops. From the defensive aspect, they were superb. It was helped by the fact that I thought Melbourne were too slow to get the ball into the forward line. When they did, the Hawks got the numbers back. But not only did they win the footy, they just started to launch attacks from back there. They would have been extremely pleased with Gibson too. Gibson's one of those players who can do the defensive aspect, but then he runs off them and sets up. And then because they got the ball so quickly into the forward line, there's this open forward line, just chalk and cheese both ends of the ground. And we saw Ruffhead coming out there, presenting, looking big and strong. And whatever he didn't hit, when the ball hit the ground level, Moss, Osborne and co just got in for it and got the footy, and they just looked absolutely sensational. From a Demons point of view, I think their biggest problem was that they just became totally rattled. There was no authority or purpose in their game. They just started to go into panic mode, pushing the ball sideways. It was almost, I've got the footy, I'm just going to give it to somebody else. May not be good for the team, but I'm getting rid of it. It's like a hot potato. And the superior skills, if I can just talk about as briefly before Mark, as I say, you just see the difference in the length of kicking, the purpose of kicking, getting to a target, the correct way to lead, where to lead by Hawthorn. But probably the thing that stood out most of all was handball. The handball situation. Hawthorn, handball with purpose. They set somebody up, they worked to somebody who was in the clear, who was facing the goals, and he was able to deliver the ball. Melbourne, unsure. It was really, as I said, it was just handball in hope. It was not an offensive weapon when it was them. It was a defensive panic mode. Massive task, I think, for Dean Bailey out there. They need some strong leadership to go. Hawthorn, sensational opening start to the season.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and Alistair Clarkson will be telling them that. They're terrific. You hit them hard, you put pressure on them. Yeah, I love the way you fed the ball back to space so we can get some movement forward. You know, keep that space open. put some pressure on there. Forward pressure was outstanding, who would say. On the Melbourne side, Dean Bailey would be setting them up again. No good ranting and raving after 30 minutes of football about how you've done and what you've done. It's just start again. Let's set up. The game plan we wanted was this, but you haven't done it properly. You need to set yourself up. Forget about the first quarter. Let's see if we can peg back a goal this quarter, or 2 goals this quarter. Get it to 4 goals by half-time behind and see if we can work back into the game. Kick it longer. Get it into space. Run the ball. Don't handball 1 yard to someone who's going to get hit by the same bloke who's going to hit you, because that happened 5 times. Gave away 5 free kicks. You'd be saying to them, don't give away free kicks at ball-ups and boundary throw-ins, because that's a contest. We have 50-50 chance. You made it 100% their way. A couple of little mistakes, but keep at it.
The overlapping of seasons, footy and cricket. Not great news from the test match over in Hamilton in New Zealand. Australia 8 for 205. Australia lost 3 wickets for 1 run. And we'll catch up with Glenn Mitchell at half-time in the footy. And if you want to listen to the cricket, it's on digital radio, ball by ball. So I absolutely implore you to go and get a digital radio, because in these days we're going to sometimes split grandstand on local radio, digital radio, other things to be heard. Down on the bench, Adam Whitey.
It's still interested to see what Brad Green's going to do for the rest of the afternoon. He's still got his tracksuit top on. He's going back to the bench. But everyone keeps asking him, are you okay, Brad? He keeps going, yep, I'm fine. That's included the coaches and also the medical team. And I reckon he'll have some sort of fitness test in the next 5 or so minutes before they work out whether to put him on or take no risk at all and leave him off the ground for the rest of the day. So I think we'll know more in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
He's their leading possession getter with 5.
Tell us some of the other numbers, Jared Cameron.
It's unbelievable.
Hawthorn have had 14 more possessions, 111 to 97. Carl Peterson on debut, 8 possessions, 1 kick and 7 hand passes.
Hawks by 36, start of the second term. Renouf gets the opening tap, follows up, caught by J. Maher. That's where it stays. Keep going, Jared.
Hawthorn lead inside 50, 17 to 8. Contested possession, 39 to 33. Clearances, 10 to 7. Melbourne have had 4 more marks, and they also lead the ruck hit-outs 12 to 7.
They attempted a ruck hit out here. Third man up, and there was Morton getting a touch for Hawthorn. There's a free kick from it. It's a Hawthorn free kick going the way of Hodge. So he looks out to the left at half forward for the leaders. Good weighted ball to right to
play, Campbell Brown.
Oh, he just protected Osborne, who was in that danger area. Subtly held his man off.
Osborne wastes it. An errant kick inside the 50. Bounces unimpeded through the pocket and out of play.
Some people don't understand how important that move is, Stan. You need to let them know it's unbelievably
it's just
important.
Wonderful looking after your mate.
Deep forward for the Hawks on the throw-in. J-Mark camps in front. Renouf from behind. He wins the tap. Knocks it away from goal, looking for a runner. Bate takes it for Melbourne. He's run down to get a hand pass away. Only as far as Ladson. To Hodge. Pulled off the first kick. Did well. Waited it there for Ellis. Not 15. Hand pass to Campbell Brown. Kicks to the hot spot. 15 out. J-Mar has it well scouted. Takes the mark for Melbourne.
Hand pass away to Bennell. Oh, shocking hand pass by him. Goes straight to the opposition. And here's a snap for goal, which takes a bit of a bounce and gets closer and closer to goal by the minute off Suckling. But it goes through for a minor score. The Hawks 6-4 lead Melbourne 3 behind. Now Frawley to kick in for the D's. Comes to the members' side. Good spoil put on it by Ladson, getting the ball to the boundary line when it appeared as though Tom Scully was going to set himself for the mark.
Playing good basic football, the Hawks. They're doing all the right things. Just punching when they need to, playing at the right spots, setting up well.
60 out from their goal on the boundary throw-in. Melbourne, though, will win possession, and don't they love it, because it's the number 31, Tom Scully, running and carrying, kicking to half forward, chopping of the arms. Miller gets a free kick. Right half forward, hand pass the little one round the back to Aaron Davey. Sets it up inside the 50. Dunn's his target. It clears him. He and Suckling chase the bouncing ball. Dunn takes it. Suckling takes him. Got his hand pass away, though. Pettard mishandles the footy against the boundary and conspires to deny himself any chance of escaping. It's a boundary throw in, 40 from the Demons goal.
Can the D's get their first goal for the game out of this? Here's the throw in. It's high. Renouf wins for the Hawks. In there is Birchall. He had it for a fair while. Comes to Mitchell. He's taken the ground straight away. Melbourne tackling hard. It spills to Jones. Jones goes goalward and from a standing start shoots for goal, and it grazes the post and goes through for a minor score. So they're still looking for their first goal. It is 4 behind Melbourne, 6 goals for Hawthorn.
Guerra to kick in, direct, and well done too for Lewis. He'll bring them out through the members' wing. On the lead is Carl Peterson.
Jeez, a good looking type, isn't he?
He covers the ground beautifully. His skills are okay. He stabs the pass to the wing for Osborne. He looks forward. Hodge is his man. It's Lewis who takes the contested mark. Brings it down. Campbell Brown at the 50. This has been precision kicking the length of the ground. 60 out from goal. Now to full forward. Roughhead leaps in front. Hodge at the back. Sockers it through for a goal. Hawthorn have 7. Melbourne have 0. 4 minutes gone of the second term. It's the Hawks by 42.
Classic goal. Classic goal by the Hawks. Kick out from fullback. All of a sudden, all the way down the ground, they control the ball right through the whole ground. Chip, not chip passes, 40-metre passes, not the short ones, into space. And then all of a sudden, you hit it up to the top of the square where Roughhead contests strongly, really strongly, up against 2 players, hard to beat in the air, and Hodge just pounces on the ground. Great goal, good movement. They're really confident in their ability. They're really confident with their teammates, and they're playing like they probably did 2 years ago. Much better.
Gee, I'll tell you what, I know he's a good player when he plays down back, Hodge, but I prefer him when he plays in where the action is and can go forward like that.
In the middle, Jamar wins the hit out to Maloney, who slides the ball to James McDonald. His kick forward, and the mark's taken by Murphy at half-back for the Hawks. Sweeps the hand pass out wide.
Look at this.
And here comes Gillum. Delivers it well to Hodge, centre wing. And he passes to half-forward, where the mark's taken by Morton. In between wing and half-forward. He penetrates the 50. Brown on the lead. Brown takes the mark. Oh, with a vice-like grip on the footy. Brown plays on quickly. Kicks towards Roughhead. Roughhead palms the ball down to the front. But it's taken away by Warnock. He looked for the boundary line, didn't get it out. Roughhead gathers for Hawthorn, keeps it alive, but Warnock is there. Rivers, hand pass away to Bruce. Out of trouble. Grimes for Melbourne. Kicks towards midfield. Ladson!
That's
A
as good as you'll ever
mark.
see.
In the same direction as the ball. Eyes only for the footy. He got crunched and gets a 50-metre penalty as well. And Ricky Ladson, you're in the dream team. That is a dream bit of football.
I just revived. Wasn't that good?
That was great.
Not my team.
And at the 50-metre, he's going to get a 6-pointer as well. Go, you
no,
good
that
thing.
was just, there's some great things and some things that make our game great, and that is one of them. The courage to run back.
You get 50 points in the dream team for absolute courage. Ladson for goal, 40 out, right in front. It's a shocking kick.
You killed him, Drew.
Oh, I did. I went the early throw. Oh, gee, that was good, though.
There are racehorses across the country out in sympathy with Rick Ladson right now.
How good was the
43
mark?
points.
That was reminiscent of, well, not as high, but Revolt's mark in Sydney about 4 or 5 years ago, Stan, that we saw.
Yeah, exactly.
Frawley's on kick-in duties for Melbourne. He goes long and direct. He needed Jamar. He was comprehensively outmarked by Renoff, who leapt up over the top. Gives his hand pass to Lewis. Deep forward again. Roughhead at the back. Frawley makes the spoil and prizes the footy out. Peterson comes at him, got the kick away. It was Hooper, actually, who laid the tackle. The ball slipped off the boot and out of play, 50 away from the Hawthorn goal.
Great forward pressure. They've had it all day, and that was just another one. Just put a hand on someone, keep the ball inside 50, have another go.
Renoff and Jamar. Renoff again, comprehensive win. Down to Birchall, kicks to the teeth of goal. It will miss to the left. Roll on beyond Campbell Brown and score. 44 points.
It's just so hard at the moment, Jared, to just see where Melbourne can really get back into this game. They just really totally being outclassed by a side that knows they've got the other side down.
We should have a sweep as to when Melbourne are going to get their first goal. Oh, here's a nice mark, taken on the outer side by Rivers. Hand pass to Jones with one colourful arm. Into Bate. Bate gathers and kicks towards half forward. Dunn, he's dropped a couple of sitters, but he takes this one. Kick by Lyndon Dunn to full forward. Pettard well placed. There it is. A mark 15 metres from goal. Didn't have time to organise the swing. Surely this will be Melbourne's first. They are 4 behinds. Hawthorn 7 goals 6. It's 48-4. And Ricky Pettard, point blank range. Oh, he missed it. He hooked it and missed. You couldn't miss from there. I've still got time to have the sweep.
Apparently you can. You have buried him too.
I've shown it a few, haven't I?
Oh, chip in for Mitchell, didn't reach him. James McDonald trying to take matters into his own hands. Ladson retrieved it, then lost it again. Davey out of midair, swings it at goal. That's the most spectacular behind of the day, but it is a behind nonetheless. 6 of those for Melbourne. So at least they have 6 points. 7-6-48 the Hawks.
And Hawthorn advanced the ball outside the 50. And the mark's taken by Lewis. He wants a 50-metre penalty. Doesn't get it. Kick by Lewis. Well weighted into midfield. Oh, that's tremendous. It's taken by Murphy. He has a bounce. Moss it was. Kicks up towards full forward. And the mark has been taken by Brown. It's Campbell Brown, the new Franklin.
This will be the second goal this quarter from a kicking.
So I'll have a third guess at the bloke in the middle. Shields. Now, Brown from about 35 metres, 40 metres. Hawthorn absolutely killing Melbourne. Brown doesn't miss. That was a much harder shot than Ricky Pettard. Pettard missed. Brown didn't. And Hawthorn racing away with this. 8-6-54 to 6 behinds. And we've only played 10 minutes of the second quarter.
Well, just, I mean, we just keep saying it. It's just a procession at the moment. You can just see where Melbourne's at. When Pettard missed that goal, it was really so disappointing. It was the first time they played with some positivity, got the ball in quickly, took a great mark, he missed it, and as you've seen so often in this game of football, make a mistake, it goes the other end of the ground, and Campbell Brown salutes the judge.
Adam White.
It's not all good news for Hawthorn because look who's in the ruck. It's Jared Roughhead because Brent Renouf has come to the bench complaining of a left groin problem. He's getting a lot of work there now. He's going to do a sort of a semi-fitness test on the bench, but this is not a good sign.
Hawthorn by 48. Jamar takes liberties by smashing it forward. There's nobody home, though. Sheldon Makers has it covered at half-back for Hawthorn. He kicks for Mitchell, guides the ball to ground and then collects, and he's lightning with a hand pass to Shields. Kicks the bouncing ball up to Brown. Hand pass to Peterson. Does the 360. Kicks inside the 50. Did it so well. And Luke Hodge is there to take the mark.
You know, Carl Peterson was on Richmond's list at one stage. Yeah. Richmond's list. And now he's starring for Hawthorn.
He wasn't good enough there. He's too tall.
Too smooth.
Hits targets.
He can actually play.
Luke Hodge, slight angle out to the left. 35 metres out from goal.
This bloke's obviously not in your dream team, Drew, because you haven't pumped up Hodge.
Hodge, left foot drop punt. Misses near side. So he's kicked 1-1 in this term. It's a 49-point margin to Hawthorn.
I knew he'd missed that. Gee, are they back into premiership form from 2 years ago, the Hawks? Take into account the opposition, though. Strauss kicks in. Oh, it's a tough gig for a bloke on debut. Hawthorn might get the ball inside the 50. Oh, they might get it yet. Bit of volleyball being played. Comes to Schoenmakers at ground level, just outside the 50. Oh. James McDonald, a little hand pass. Too slick for Burnell. Taken by the Hawks. Here goes Ladson. His hand pass is gathered. Well done, Schoenmakers. Back to Hodge. Kicks towards the goal square. Mark dropped by the debutant. Comes to Brown. Finishes up with Frawley. Oh, they're not out of it yet. Warnock. Back to Frawley. Wow. Somehow they get it to Jones. And Jones balks the hand pass. He ran a fair way. And then hand passes nowhere. Makes it tough for Grimes. The ball's over the boundary line. Laughable by Melbourne, but they somehow come out with a free kick to Jack Grimes.
Grimes across half back, kicks into the middle of the ground. Bate makes it good. Now they should break here, Melbourne. He kicks out to the southern wing. Davey is on inside the 50. Miller leads and he doesn't hang on against Schoenmakers. The defender grabs the footy, kicks it sideways to Suckling. Across the face of goal for Gibson. He'll bring it out through Ellis. The Hawks will play the members side. Ellis has a long target and he's found him. Shields going back, takes the mark. Peterson to his side. Shields is going a little longer. He had 3 to choose from. He chose Lewis. Roughhead's on the lead. Lewis goes there. Roughhead's got it.
Just want to talk about the way they set up space, Hawthorn.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Because it'd be so easy to get hung up about Melbourne's not playing well, but gee, Hawthorn are playing some wonderful football.
How they set up space is their half-forwards actually push up and leave space behind it, and they're so disciplined at it, and they will not suck back into that area where Roughhead has to go.
Long range shot at goal. Roughhead close to the man on the mark. Hits it sweetly from 53. It was touched by the man on the mark. It went through the middle all right.
Yeah, you ran much too close, didn't he? He didn't go back very far. He must have some new system. He's only taken about 3 or 4 steps.
He didn't take much off the ball if it was touched because it went 55 metres. Oh, hello.
Oh, here's the debutant kicking in again, and he's having a nightmare, Strauss. The Hawks have it. The umpire comes in. He's going to pay a Melbourne free kick. They're going to get out of it, but by gee, it is very, very lucky indeed. McKenzie takes the free kick, kicks to defensive 50, and the mark taken by Dunn. Lyndon Dunn, there's nowhere to go. Kicks to Davey, who takes the mark over half-back, Great Southern stand side. Aaron Davies centres the ball for McDonald, but Mitchell's in the way. Ball comes down to the front to Melbourne. The hand pass goes to Joel McDonald. It came from McKenzie. There was a throw in there, and it's going to be a Hawthorn free kick. And the free is going to be to Guerra. He'll find a teammate. Melbourne can't find a teammate. Guerra's kick inside the 50. Roughhead's there. Tough half volley. Couldn't gather. Chance for Shields, but the ball beats him over the boundary line. And a throw in at half forward for Hawthorn, who lead 8-8 to 6 behinds. That's right, 56-6. Whitey.
Well, good news for Hawks fans because Brent Renouf has come back onto the ground.
And he's in this ruck contest with Spencer. Renouf the tap, follows up, doesn't win possession. James McDonald dragged down in the tackle. Peterson for Hawthorn releases Moss. Kicks to the teeth of goal. Campbell Brown playing from behind and Frawley beats him this time. Frawley with the short pass to Grimes. 35 away from the defensive goal. He looks out to the southern side of the ground. Kicks it to Scully. Trengrove a little further afield. Scully's going longer than that. His kick to Davey, who had Gibson bearing down. The spoiler's made. Trengrove does come up with it though. To Bate. Now to Maloney. Kicks the Demons inside the 50. Guerra used the shoulder to get rid of his opponent in Pettard. And the Hawks bring it out. Peterson at the defensive 50. He can have a little bit of a run. Delivers sideways to Moss. He takes it on the first bounce. Goes up the line, not the best of options, and the free kick is given away by Jared Morton, who was outnumbered 2-1.
Free kick to Burnell. Half-back flank for the D's. Goes back and short. Grimes marks on defensive 50. Oh, shocking pass to Spencer, who moved with the speed of a glacier. Lucky. It comes to Jones in the circles. He kicks long. One out, Jamar. Good mark, son. Beauty. In front of Stephen Gillum. Now Mark Jamar about 35 metres from goal. Angle about 45 degrees. Could the big fella, they call him the Russian. Could the Russian break the drought for Melbourne? They've gone 17 minutes into the second quarter without a goal. He's taken the run-up back to Siberia. Going to the city end, the D's. Jamar for the D's first goal. Kicks from 40. Hello. He's kicked it. It wasn't that authoritative, but the result's okay. And listen to the Melbourne fans. Melbourne 1-6, Hawthorn 8 goals 8.
Well, it's taken them 47 minutes to get their first goal. 17 minutes into the second quarter, and JMR took their ruckman, who had to go down for a spell. And I'm glad that they put him in the forward line, because he gives them a target to kick too long, and they can set up for that. He's tall. Now he goes back in the ruck, which is going to cause them some problems down there, because they just don't have that target to kick to. Someone who's strong, who can actually hold their ground and mark the ball. That was very well done by JMR. He's done very well in the ruck. Now he went forward and kicked their first goal for the season.
Mark McClure on Grandstand AFL with Stan Elves on a Saturday afternoon. Hawthorn by 44 points. Slap down in the middle of the ground. Free kick against Jamar. Hodge was intending to take the advantage. He was held up by Dunn.
Hey, Whitey, something going on in front of you.
Yeah, Brad Green's taken the tracksuit top off, Drew. He wants to come back on.
Renoff works it around with Kayla Thompson. Kick comes up to half forward. Peterson dives in there, so too Maloney. Ball jars free Melbourne's way. Rivers to Bruce, not for long. Makers wins it back. Peterson really committed himself. Got under the bodies, took the contact and earned the free kick for in the back. 2 kicks away from goal. Carl Peterson. Not a great kick inside the 50. That slips away with that at Richmond. Over the boundary and out of play ahead of Roughhead.
Yeah, they'll be talking about the young fella. Do not try and kick while you're walking backwards, son. Get back and move forward.
Straight to the bench. He's done well, though.
30 out from Hawthorn's goal. Ryan Hooper got it from the stoppage. Kicks to full forward. It won't come off. Grimes goes back and takes the mark on the last line of defence.
Grimes, so promising. Oh, but he kicks in the direction of Brown, and Campbell Brown might have taken a mark, actually bunted the ball over the boundary line, forces a stoppage. So a throw in, only about 25-30 metres from goal. Set themselves. Comes to Roughhead, who gets his hands free. Handball to Lewis, who's buried in a good tackle by Rivers. Jones and Mitchell fight hard for the ball. Dead heat. Umpire McLaren will ball it up close to the boundary line, about 35 metres from goal. Hawthorn in attack. They lead 56-12. Up she goes. Jamar wins. Comes to Jones. Hand pass to Burnell. He's going nowhere. Back out of play.
1 goal 3 this term for Melbourne. 2 goals 5 for Hawthorn. It's 8-8 to 1-6. We're into time on. Jamar and Renoff. Jamar to the front. Scully was there. He doesn't have it. McKenzie does. Can't break clear. And the player just off the ball there, Jones, seemed to get decked without having any involvement in the play. There's no free kick.
Don't you love the way Hawthorn, they just keep it there, keep it there, keep it there. Doesn't matter what happens.
40 out from their goal. Birchall at the side of the pack, trying to get something going. Rivers took possession. He was dumped into the turf in the back. Jared Rivers with the free kick. He hand passes backward to Burnell. He has to lay a ship at Rivers, and he does it well. Burnell brings it out to the broadcast side of the ground. Gathered for the Demons by Trentgrove. Kicks it forward. No mark taken. Schoenmakers is under pressure for the Hawks. Joel McDonald has it for the Needs. Back to Grimes. Took a little while but used it well. Off to McKenzie. Inside the 50. Miller's the target. One bite, not the second. Gibson at ground level for the Hawks. Didn't quite control it. Spencer tries to pry it out. Bake the same. They keep it loose. Lewis takes it. Bruce takes him. Ball still skittling around close to the Melbourne goal. It's brought to a halt now under all manner of bodies, and it will be bounced. 20 out from Melbourne's goal.
Roughhead off for Hawthorn, replaced by Morton, wearing a famous number 19 worn by Dunstall. Ball comes to Bate of Melbourne. They're 40 metres from goal. A flying shot here by Bruce. It's high, hasn't got the distance. No mark. Comes off hands. Another chance for the D's. Maloney wide out in the pocket. Hooks back across his body. Too far. And the mark taken by Lewis near the behind post.
Having a big day, Jordan.
Yeah, he's a beauty. And Lewis kicks back towards the members' side of the ground. Schoenmakers gets far too much space, takes the mark. He kicks up over half-back, and Campbell Brown, far too much space, takes the mark, sweeps the hand pass in. It's taken by Birchall, off to Ladson, centre wing. Ladson balks, gets around for the hand pass. Oops! Didn't give it to the bloke in the best position. Shields back to Ladson. He paddles it backwards, but straight to the pass of Trengove. Trengove gets the hand pass back from Miller. Trengove the handball inside the 50. Any danger of kicking the ball? Spencer throws himself at it. He's caught in the tackle by Gillam. He's holding it, Spencer. Gillam's free.
I hate to say that wasn't Trengo's fault. No, that was Miller's fault. Seriously, if he actually... I just don't know when he's going to come good.
Gillam to Gibson. Up the line he goes for Moss. That's to reach left half back for the Hawks. Moss with the short pass.
To Melbourne's credit, at least they've made a little bit of a contest out of it.
Yeah.
They're just pushing numbers all across the ground, and they've stopped the free-flowing play of Hawthorn. So at least we've got some sort of contest happening in the last 10 minutes.
Mitchell dabs it to Ellis. This has been their method, Hawthorn. Precise short passing. Ellis got himself into a bind. Hand passes it out to Morton, off to Ladson. Out they come through Ellis, and now to Hodge. He'll put him inside the 50. Brown sets himself. Bruce makes the spoil. Rivers arrives. He's caught, but he gets it off to Bruce. Oh, he really is caught by Hooper. Ball is in hot dispute now. Bruce hand passes over his head in the back pocket. It'll be tidied up by Bennell. The Demons survive. Out to Davey. Kicks up the wing. Well-weighted ball. Mark is taken by Pettard, I should say.
That should be 50.
Yeah, Pettard thinks so. But he's going to be denied. Ball was just jarred out of his hands after he completed the mark.
And Brad Green's back on the ground. Miracle recovery. He left the field with a neck brace on in the first quarter. Murphy has it for Hawthorn. Gets a hand pass away. Suckling. Back to Guerra, who's magnificent off the left boot. What a pass that was. An absolute beauty. Taken by Schoenmakers. He kicks long towards half forward. That's to the advantage of no one in particular. Hooper the only hope. First back there is Joel McDonald, his former Brisbane teammate, who took a week to pick it up and was met head on. Well done by Osborne. Prizes the ball free. Peterson centres it, comes to Moss. He further centres it, and Roughhead takes the mark, gets the hand pass off. Ladson kicks the goal from the goal square. You got to be happy with that. Hawthorn 9-8-62, Melbourne 1 goal 6-12.
Yeah, well, the Ricky Lat's been fantastic. He's come back into the game and after a long time out of it and done very well, run straight. Very good play by the Hawks. They just fought and scraped and scratched. They weren't entitled to win that ball out in the boundary line there. The D's had it absolutely covered. But, you know, just some real desperation. Dive on the ball.
Osborne.
Yeah, fantastic.
Michael Osborne, he's run 30 minutes. Everybody else has given up.
Run Hooper gave up.
Yeah, they thought that what happens is Joel McDonald just get an easy kick. He was absolutely sensational, that run by Osborne. He got there, made the contest, brought numbers to the footy, and then that sends up a terrific goal. If he sits back and bludges on his teammates, it never happens.
Well, that's happening on the other side.
Yeah.
How about this? Carl Peterson is in the ruck. Spencer beats him to it. Mitchell, though, rose for Hawthorn. To Lewis, turns out of trouble, kicks up to half forward. Bruce needs a bounce. He's able to trap the ball. Hand passed over his head to Rivers. Melbourne back into the middle through Maloney, who marks. He has a look up toward half forward. Nothing obvious to go to. Maloney, well, he confused himself. He dropped the ball, got it back, kicks long inside the 50, no mark. Mitchell is there, sweeping up again, gives it to Ellis, now to Gibson, back to Ellis. The Hawks are through the defensive 50, hand pass to Mitchell and back to Ellis. He's running a relay, sets them up to half forward. Beautiful kick. Mortensen himself. He'll deliver to Peterson. Here's the little kid from the ruck, and here's a goal. He steadies and drives it home. He can play, Carl Peterson. That was a sweet move. 10-8-68 Hawthorn, 1-6-12 Melbourne, 27 minutes gone of the second on Grandstand AFL.
And let me just add a little bit to that because he's playing in the ruck. He's going forward, he's winning the footy, but you know what? He's had 8 contested possessions in addition.
He actually leads contested possessions on the ground. He is a beauty, this little boy. And tell you what, we talked about, perhaps if everybody in this Hawthorn side was available, he may not have got a game. Well, Fair Dinkum, he stepped up to say, I think I'm worthy of a game, and I'm not just going to give up my spot.
He's 183 centimetres. He's shorter than Hodge.
Now Roughhead's back in the ruck. Peterson staying forward. So pretty much now he's playing full forward. Roughhead beaten by Spencer, but it comes to Mitchell. Standing start, high ball towards centre half forward. No mark. Hand pass comes out to James McDonald. He kicks it high. Punch away from Bate. Comes down the front to Mitchell. Concedes some ground back to Ladson. Oh, they're running into spaces everywhere. And Moss takes the mark. 55 metres from goal. Kick by Moss. Inside the 50. Ruffy marks. 35 out.
And Campbell Brown did it again. Shepherded him out. Took his opponent out of the way so Roughhead could come back and take a very easy mark. That's his second time, or second or third time I've seen him do it today.
His kicking's been a bit off. He's kicked 1 goal too. Jared Roughhead going for goal. He'll kick from about 40 metres. This is an absolute hiding Melbourne are taking. Half-time siren. That's a dreadful kick from about 2 steps. And it's out of bounds on the full. So he doesn't score at all. And the half-time score here is Hawthorn 10-8-68, leading Melbourne 1-6-12. Melbourne's first half of football for the season has produced 1 goal. The inside 50s, the Hawks 34-17, and the scoreboard's even more one-sided than that. The goals for the Hawks: Osborne 2, Moss 2, Campbell Brown 2, singles for Roughhead, Ladson, Hodge, and his first goal in league football, Carl Peterson, just before half-time. The Hawks 10-8 to the D's 1-6.
It's all happening on Grandstand AFL on ABC, local radio, Radio Australia, digital radio, and online at afl.com.au. You'll learn shortly that Australia's been bowled out for 231 in the first innings of the second test against New Zealand. That's coming up in the sports update. But Stan Elves and Mark McCaw.
Well, we came here with expectations, and we had a lot of expectations about how Melbourne would improve. Well, they haven't. Quite frankly, they are going just exactly they were last year. This game plan that was supposed to be set in place, and it's small chipping, short chipping passes, all that sort of thing, has zapped the confidence completely out of their what they're doing. They're being killed by a side who is on song, ready to go. They look fit and tough and strong. They've got 5 or 6 of their best players out of the team, but some of the kids they brought in have been outstanding. And Patterson is one of them who's come in and done a great job. Good young kid. Young Aboriginal boy, and really is a class player, and he's fitted into their side very well. But their setup as well. Their setup is fantastic. Just go back to Melbourne for 1 second. They kicked their first goal at the 17-minute mark of the second quarter by Jamar. They have a forward line. There's a couple of players there. I'm going to say Miller. Seriously, I have no idea why he's still on their list, to tell you the truth. He has got no idea how to position himself or put himself in the spot to do things to help his teammates. And up forward, he's almost a liability. So it's a pity, because they got some good young players, but their method is so poor and how they get the ball forward. There's no good talking about them. I'm going to talk about Hawthorn. They're set up sensational. They understand how to play the game. They're really well led. You look at Hodge and Lewis, who have been outstanding, but they're led by lots of players, and Sammy Mitchell as well around the ground. They know exactly, and they're drilled to the second, what we are supposed to do in this situation. You're caught behind, you bang it long. You're in this situation, you feed back. You in that situation, this is what you do in that situation. And they are just brilliant at it, and you can see it coming every time. Campbell Brown, a little shepherd behind to save his teammate, a little knock on the ground, a little bit here, a little bit there. All the tiny things they are very, very good at, and they are excellent at making space. It's not an accident that Roughhead runs into space. It's a setup, because all the forwards know their role. Move up the ground, make the space there, and the Melbourne players actually go with them. Someone may have to drop back. Maybe you've got to change a few things. You don't have to follow your man all the time, and all those sorts of things. Look, it's an interesting game, and it's interesting to watch. And the emergence of a Hawthorn side who were premiers 2 years ago, they're back on track. Apply pressure. Understand your role. Right time, right place, every time. Love the way they've gone about it, Stan.
Mark, in simple terms, the difference to me is team. One is a team, a well-drilled team, doing everything. What they do is with purpose. They have an understanding that when a teammate gets the ball, be it by hand or by foot, 3 or 4 have already made a decision to get in a spot where they can be an option for him, to get him out of trouble. He releases the ball. All of a sudden they look up. Their ability to actually read the game 2 or 3 paces or kicks ahead of the game. That is why all of a sudden you'll just wonder, how did that Hawthorn bloke get by himself? Because he's actually run 40 metres from the other side of the ground to run to be in a position so that when a teammate looks up, he's 40 metres away and he's in his vision and he sees him straight away, give it to him. And when you add those other different things, it would be so easy to get caught in this game to go for glory when you're so far ahead. That's where Campbell Brown stood out to me. Those couple of situations, we could have come out and gone for the big glory one. First thought, no, I'm looking after me teammate. Teammate's able to run back, knowing that Campbell Brown's there, knowing that he's going to be protected. Those are the type of things that stand out. They have been super sharp. They're looking absolutely superb. Probably squandered a couple of opportunities towards the end of that quarter, whereas the Demons, there's an enormous amount of work because right at this point of time, there are just 22 individuals running about, unsure of what their role is and how they complement each other.
Hawthorn by 56 points at half-time at the MCG. The Dream Team points, Lewis 72, Brown 68, Hodge 64, Peterson 62, Moss 58, Ladson 57, Ellis 56. They're all Hawthorn players and they're all ahead of the leading Melbourne player, who is Geordie McKenzie on 54. More coming up from the MCG, but right now the latest from the ABC Newsroom with Alicia Byrne.
Thanks, Tara. The Australian Grand Prix chairman Ron Walker is defending British ace Lewis Hamilton after he was allegedly caught hoon driving on a Melbourne street. But as Anna Walker reports, the Victorian government says the incident sends the wrong message to drivers.
Hamilton's luxury car was impounded last night after he was allegedly caught doing a burnout at St Kilda near the Albert Park Grand Prix circuit. He'll be charged under Victoria's anti-hoon legislation. But Australian Grand Prix chairman Ron Walker doubts it was deliberate.
I think it was a mind slip last night, high off his great timing at the Grand Prix against Mark Webber.
Victoria's major events minister Tim Holding says there's no excuse.
The place for driving like a Formula One driver is here on the track at Albert Park. It's not on Victoria's roads.
In a written statement, Lewis Hamilton has apologised for his behaviour, describing it as silly and over-exuberant. Anna Walker, ABC News, Melbourne.
Meanwhile, the New South Wales government says its bid to take the Formula One Grand Prix from Melbourne is part of its promise to keep Sydney the events capital of Australia. The New South Wales government says it's looking into the feasibility of holding the event at Homebush. The New South Wales Premier Christina Keneally says holding the Grand Prix is a big ask, but her government won't miss an opportunity to put its best foot forward.
We said we would focus, we would be determined, and we would keep Sydney as Australia's major events capital. We've had great major events, whether it's been the Olympics, which were delivered by this government on time, on budget.
It's been revealed AFL clubs have gone to the league asking for a rethink when it comes to compensation for losing their elite players to the new Gold Coast club. It's believed the clubs may be after high-level picks in future drafts for losing high-profile out-of-contract players. AFL boss Andrew Demetriou has told ABC's Grandstand he's not sure of the details of the club requests, but he thinks the discussions are a good thing.
There's a much better understanding now of the situation with uncontracted players. I know Geelong have been in to see Adrian. I think we've received some written submissions, and I think no doubt those will be discussed by the list review committee, as they should. I think they're legitimate issues that are being raised.
The Federal Opposition Education spokesman Christopher Pyne says a coalition policy on bullying will empower school principals. Mr Pyne unveiled the policy at the Australian Education Union conference in Canberra today. He says the centrepiece of the 5-point plan would give principals a much greater autonomy to deal with bullying at school as well as outside. Mr Pyne says the $10 million program would include a national education campaign and national reporting requirements.
We'll do an audit to find out what's out there now, and then we'll establish a task force as well of particularly industry people involved with Facebook and MySpace and so forth, who we will require to support students in particular who are the victims of cyberbullying.
Police in Perth have issued an arrest warrant for a former Scout leader wanted on child sex charges. Nikki Wilson-Smith reports the man is living in the United States.
Scott Ziris is facing child sex charges in Texas. Police there say he sexually assaulted 3 boys while working at a holiday camp. West Australian police have just completed an investigation into Mr Ziris's behaviour while he was working at the Grassroots Ventures camp south of Perth. He's since been accused of molesting 3 Australian boys after nearly 400 children who attended the camps were interviewed. Mr Ziris will be charged with indecent dealing with a child, inciting a child to do an indecent act and recording a child. WA police plan to extradite him once the proceedings in America are finalised and he's eligible for release.
And cabin crew at British Airways have launched another strike against the airline. The 4-day strike is the second of 2 this month, part of a long-running dispute over pay and working conditions. The BBC's Emma North reports.
This is the second time that BA passengers will face days of cancellations and a deepening rift between BA and the Unite unions. However, BA says that this time it won't be beaten. Of the 240,000 passengers due to fly with BA during the strike period, the airline says that 180,000 of them will fly either on their aircraft or on aircraft hired in from different companies. 43,000 people will have their flights delayed or will fly on rival carriers. That leaves 17,000 who will have their flights cancelled. Several passengers are now saying that the effect on BA's reputation has become long-term, that they can no longer trust the airline to be reliable.
And that's the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
From the writers of Peep Show and The Thick of It comes a comedy about settling into old age with style.
Tell them about yourself. Pretty funny. Not too much, though. People switch off.
As seen on ABC One and new to DVD, The Old Guys takes a fresh look at retirement and the joys of never acting your age.
I'm playing an online drinking game with some students. They think I'm 26 and a woman.
I wouldn't go to that party now if she begged me.
I would.
The Old Guys is available from ABC Shops, Centres and ABC Shop Online.
Grandstand AFL.
Roughhead leaps in front, Hodge at the back, sockers it through for a goal.
Moss it was, kicks up towards full forward, and the mark has been taken by Brown. Hawthorn absolutely killing Melbourne. Brown just missed, he kicks long, 1 out Jamar. Good mark, son. Beauty. Kicks from 40. Hello, he's kicked it. It wasn't that authoritative, but the result's okay. And listen to the Melbourne fans. Peterson centres it, comes to Moss. He further centres it, and Roughhead takes the mark. It's a hand pass off. Ledson kicks the goal from the goal square. You got to be happy with that.
He'll deliver to Peterson. Here's the little kid from the ruck, and here's a goal. He steadies and drives it hard. He can play, Carl Peterson.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio.
This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, Digital Radio, Radio Australia and online. Steve Pearce with you. Back to the MCG shortly, where it's Hawthorn leading Melbourne by a whopping 56 points at the main break. But before we get back there, let's check what else is happening in sport around the world. And in cricket, Australia has had a rocky day against New Zealand on the first day of the second test in Hamilton. At one stage, losing 3 wickets for just 1 run. They were bowled out for 231, just around about a quarter of an hour ago. Glenn Mitchell's part of the commentary team on Grandstand Digital, but he ducked away from the box to give us an update on Australia's first dig in Hamilton.
Well, Steve, the latest at the moment is it's the break in innings. Australia remarkably through Ponting winning his 7th consecutive toss in this series, but that was about the highlight of the innings, with the exception of Simon Kadich making 88 in his 50th test appearance. But 4 wickets apiece to Southey and Vittori has cut Australia down to 231, bowled out midway through the 75th over. Watson returning to the side. He was up to 12. Ponting for the second time in this series, run out, this time of his own making, for 22. Hussey made 22, Clark 28. Kadich, the shining light, with 88, and after tea the innings fell away rapidly. Haddon caught and bowled by Southey for 12. Johnson departing, caught in close off Vittori for a duck. North LBW to Vittori for 9. Harris out LBW to Vittori for 10, and Bollinger, the last man out, bowled for 4. Horrocks remaining 12 not out, but with Vittori in his 100th test, 4 for 36, and Tim Southey, a return to form at test level, 4 for 61. Australia's lowest test score this summer, all out for 231. We'll find out just how this pitch is playing, I guess, when we see the top order from New Zealand shortly. Slower than what they faced in a batting prospect in Wellington, and some of the Australians not adjusting their game accordingly today. And as a result, they're all out for a rather paltry 231.
Glenn Mitchell there in New Zealand, and we'll check in again with Glenn a bit later in the programme after stumps. New Zealand has started its reply, 1 for 11. McIntosh bowled by Bollinger for 4, so a bit of a rocky start for the Black Caps as they reply to Australia's 231. Now to Albert Park in Melbourne, where the final practice session has just ended for tomorrow's Australian Formula One Grand Prix, as Lewis Hamilton got his mind back on the job in hand after his bizarre encounter with police on the roads just outside the circuit last night. Will Hagan is trackside for us. Will, how's the final practice session shaped up?
An absolute thriller, Steve. If tomorrow's race is anywhere near as good, it will be a beauty, because early on in the session, Lewis Hamilton, as you say, after that foray with the Victorian police last night at about 9:15, doing a wheel spin and a fishtail and some smoke off his tyres and things, and having not his car, Mercedes-Benz Australia's car, impounded for 48 hours, and Lewis Hamilton realising how stupid it was, and, it's brought some odium on him, obviously. But he got down to business today, and at the early part of that session, 22 minutes in, Mark Webber still hadn't gone out, nor had Rubens Barrichello or Jenson Button, but they soon got into action, and up to the head of the field came Lewis Hamilton, along with Mark Webber, and by only less than 7/100ths of a second, Webber was slower than Hamilton, and those two were the only two who'd betted the best times done in the 2 1.5-hour sessions yesterday. But pretty quickly after that, things got very busy. Webber had at that stage done just 6 laps, and as I say, was right towards the top of the field. But then he got pushed back down, and then he started to put in some absolutely wonderful laps. He went fastest. He got bettered by such as Michael Schumacher, who came surging through, and then Fernando Alonso came honking along as well. But by the time the session finished, the 1-hour session, it was Mark Webber head of the field, and he got there at a time of 1:24.719. It's only about 0.6 of a second outside last year's pole position time. It's an average speed of 225.3 kilometres an hour, which perhaps puts into some perspective the wheel spin of Lewis Hamilton last night at probably 65 or 70 kilometres an hour as he left the track. But putting that aside, Fernando Alonso, of course a dual world champion, was slower than Mark Webber by an added 0.2 of a second. Michael Schumacher was just 34 thousandths of a second, just over 300ths of a second slower than Alonso, and a cum of 0.244 of a second slower than Webber. So Schumacher was third fastest, so 2 world champions immediately behind Mark Webber. Sebastian Vettel, his teammate, touted by many as a potential world champion, but slower than his teammate, his 9 years older teammate Mark Webber from Queanbeyan, New South Wales, by 0.4 of a second. Then Nico Rosberg shaded Michael Schumacher a little bit in the Mercedes GP team previous race 2 weeks ago, but on this occasion slower than Michael Schumacher by about 0.4 of a second. Then Jenson Button, the reigning world champion, and then Lewis Hamilton, 7th fastest. So 4 world champions in the top 7, but Mark Webber ahead of all of them. Adrian Sutil, Felipe Massa, the second of the Ferraris, Vitantonio Liuzzi, made up the top 10. Then we got to Rubens Barrichello, Sebastian Buemi for Toro Rosso, Robert Kubica for the Renault team, Kobayashi for the BMW Sauber team. Was BMW last year. The factory is out and it's gone back into the hands of Peter Sauber, the Swiss guy who ran a sports car team for them at one stage. So that made the top 14. Down the tail end of the field is Lotus Racing with Heikki Kovalainen, the McLaren team, 19th fastest, Jarno Trulli, his teammate in Lotus Racing, 20th fastest. Then the 2 Virgin Racing team car, Luca de Grassi and Timo Glock, and then the 2 HRT Hispana racing team, Chandhok from India and Bruno Senna from Brazil. 12 different nationalities represented in the field, Steve, and Mark Webber at the head of the field. So people really hoping that he can repeat that in qualifying. It starts in 1 hour and 23 minutes time.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much. Will Hagan there, trackside, and we'll check in with Will after qualifying just before 6 o'clock this evening. There's one Group 1 race at Rosehill Gardens this afternoon, and about 45 minutes from now, the Rosehill Guineas will be run over 2,000 metres. Rock Classic and Shootout, the two fancied runners there. In Rugby League, St George Illawarra remain undefeated this season after beating North Queensland 33-8 in Wollongong last night. Today, Penrith host Manly this afternoon before tonight's games, Manly against Newcastle. Penrith host Melbourne, I should have said. Manly against Newcastle, and in Gold Coast up against Canberra. In the Super 14s, the Reds are up to 5th place on the table after beating the Cheetahs 31-10 in Bloemfontein early this morning. It's Queensland's first win over the Cheetahs in South Africa. Late this afternoon, the Hurricanes meet the Sharks in Wellington, and then tonight, the Waratahs and the Blues meet in Sydney before the Force host the Bulls. South African Early Els is tied for the lead at the halfway mark of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Els is at 7 under par alongside DJ Trahan, Ben Curtis and Davis Love III. Robert Allenby and Jason Day, the best of the Australians there at -3. Belgian Olivia Rockers has upset second seed Novak Djokovic at the Miami Masters in 3 sets, and Australia has won the gold medal in the team pursuit at the World Track Cycling Championships in Copenhagen, beating Great Britain into second place, but we'll see what happens in London. Let's get back to the MCG now. The Hawks up by 56 points, and boys, Luke Hodge not looking a bad dream team captain, would you say?
Oh, you're happy with Hodgie.
That's the smug Englishman we know and love.
Self-interest.
If you want to play Dream Team with us, it's quite easy to do. We want everyone to sort of join the Super League, the corporate league that is established. So if you are a Dream Team participant, come and match wits with us. Just go to the Grandstand website, abc.net.au/grandstand. Click on the AFL page and you will find there a link which is basically an invitation. Click on it. It will simply ask you to accept and you'll be into our league, which has got, as of this morning, more than 150 participants to measure yourself against the expert commentary team.
Is that a good idea, Jared? Because if our league grows to 7,000 people, it won't look good if we're all in the bottom 100.
Oh, no, it won't, but it'll give us a good bit of fodder. We'll find out who the real experts are. And who's to say if you go a tear-away leader in our competition, one day you might find yourself sitting here beside Mark McClure and Stan Elks.
What if they're in the bottom 100?
We might have to exit.
Players are back out on the ground. This is serious for Melbourne. They have to give something in this second half. You can't play like this in round 1.
No, and you cannot keep going with just the youth situation. Keep throwing the kids up. If you come along and watch two sides play out there, and the contrast between the two sides is one side. I'll just say this again: one side who is playing as a team, who have an understanding of what to do. Everybody knows their roles. They know what to do. Whereas the other side is just totally confused. The uncertainty that's out there. There's no semblance of a positive game plan. There's no semblance of how to go about this contest.
Why did they re-sign him for an extra year, the coach, when we didn't actually know whether he could coach or not?
Well,
and what was he going to get pinched by someone else? Wasn't he supposed to hear to fight for his dinner?
Yeah. Well, obviously they believed that he'd presented to them the way to go, but the point of the thing is that it's one thing to say something, but you must now translate that into performance. We've got to see something of this, and from that first half of football we just haven't seen anything to show us the reason why they're going in the right direction. It's okay to have the personnel, now it's got to translate into give us a team.
Great to see Brad Green out there again to start the second half. He's gone to full forward, being picked up by Stephen Gillam. He's playing out of the goal square. Jamar against Renouf. Jamar wins the hit out, gets it to Maloney, who can't even get outside the circle before he is buried. The ump will ball it up again. Scott McLaren, Shane Stewart and Chris Camelins are the umpires. In green today. Here's the bounce. They lock horns. Jamar wins the hit out. Comes to Davey. Hand pass to Jones, who's collared in run. Hooper's tackle, and he goes to ground. No breathing space, no time.
Can I just make a comment then? Now, what's happened is all Melbourne's forwards, and defenders, they all push up to the contest. And so if the ball's given out, your own men just bringing the opponents in.
Gee, just about through it, Jamar. Out to James McDonald. He gets a kick up towards half forward. It's grabbed by Gibson, the former Kangaroo, who kicks with great team plan out towards the logo, Great Southern stand side. And Sammy Mitchell takes the mark. Beats a would-be tackler and penetrates the 50. Rivers up for Melbourne, can't take the mark. It's up for grabs here now for the Hawks. 40 metres from goal, but Grimes gets the hand pass away. Trengove not too sure where to go, so he goes back to Frawley. Frawley caught in Brown's tackle. Hand pass back. Oh! Roughhead lays a good tackle. The ball's up for Brown. Campbell Brown for goal. Oh, tremendous play by the Hawks. Brown's got 3, and it came as a result of Roughhead's tackle on Warnock.
Again, the forward pressure from the Hawks just puts some uncertainty in the Melbourne players. They handball, they're falling, their players are standing still. They've got to clear the space. Just hit it long, get it out of there as quick as you can. Do not fiddle, because that's what they do. They fiddle around and they pay the price. And Campbell Brown's been outstanding in the forward line as a team player. And this time was Roughhead's turn to help him out and give him an easy one.
Just want to come back to that point I probably didn't describe very well, is that at a centre bounce, it's so important that what you do is that you don't rush in, because you bring your opponent in. Hold back so that if your teammates get it in the midfield, so a midfielder gets it, if the ball goes to him, he doesn't have people coming in from everywhere. They're just not thinking out playing for each other.
Hawks by 62. Hodge wins the centre clearance, goes long and direct. It falls to the front of the pack. Jared Morton snaps at goal, and the Hawks get another. Ruthlessly efficient out of the middle. 12-8-80, 1-6-12, 2.5 gone of the third term.
And I might say this, that just focus a little bit on Melbourne then, but I want to come back to Hawthorn. I think one of the biggest challenges you've got when you actually have a side and you're absolutely destroying them, there's a tendency to go in at half-time when you come out to perhaps just think it's going to happen and go through the motion. They have not come out with that front. They have continued on absolutely superbly. The footy getting down there, playing your role, as Mark just said, crashing in, looking for each other. Wonderful bit of crumbing goal. Fantastic bit of play.
Back in the middle, 80-12. J-Mark camped underneath this ball. Actually, Hodge takes clean possession, gets the hand pass away. James McDonald fights with Mitchell. Hodge follows up, second effort, fantastic. Finds Schoenmakers. Out to Ladson on the logo centre wing. Sweeps the hand pass in to Murphy. Oh, team play. He's got Guerra going past. Look at this left footer. To full forward, it skims on. Didn't quite hit the target, Campbell Brown, who had a difficult task. And the ball's out of play alongside the behind post. Hawthorn in attack again.
Brown plants himself at the front of the pack. Peterson to the side of it. Boundary throw actually came up a little short. It's there for Maloney to use into the back pocket for Bruce, and now to Dunn. It took a long time to make a decision. He went across the face of goal. Trengove brings it out to outside the 50, and it bounces out of play. Adam White.
Now, Jared, if you're a Melbourne supporter and you're at the ground today and you want a free scarf, just have a look in the bins, because my understanding is there's been a number of scarves literally thrown in the bin at half-time. So the 2010 membership scarves. So if you want one, go and have a look before you leave.
It's such a disappointing start to this point in time. Scully takes the ball at the back of the pack, gives it to Bennell, now to Grimes, nothing forward, goes sideways with a hand pass to Frawley, up to Jones. Jones will get the advantage of a free kick here that was going down the ground when Grimes got felled in the back play. Bate, he gets a free kick. Pettard claims the advantage. It's going to come back. Mark has been paid.
One thing that gets me with the Melbourne side, someone calls for it, doesn't mean that you have to give it to them in any way, shape or form, because they're a senior player. And I think that some blokes run past, call for it in the wrong spot, and the kids give it to them. Yeah. Absolutely wrong.
Bate got way too close to Gibson on the man of the mark. Gibson caught him. He had to throw it away. Davey got caught high. I reckon the umpire thought, well, if you're going to make that big a meal of it, I'm not giving it back to you. Ladson to Gibson to Hodge. Off left half back. Gives it to Osborne. He spilled it. Gets it back, though. Has time. Works it up to Ladson. Chips in the Haran Hooper direction. Rivers makes the spoil. The Demons with the numbers at the drop.
Trengove, the hand pass back to Scully. They're two names we might be calling for years to come. Up to Jones, who makes a meal of it totally. It spills to Birchall, who's slung to the turf. Play on, says the umpire. Inside the forward 50 for the Hawks, but Bennell gathers. Away to Scully. His kick over the head of James McDonald, his skipper, who's been playing on Sammy Mitchell. It's been a great contest, and there's a holding against Mitchell. And
no, to Mitchell.
To Mitchell against McDonald, and Sammy gets the free. Well, he plays on maybe forward of the mark, but he gets away with it. Kicks towards full forward. Drop mark in defence. Spills to Hooper. Hooper buries the goal. They could win by 200. Hawthorn 13-8, Melbourne 1-6.
I don't think that Jared Rivers would want to see the replay of that. He was actually should have taken an easy mark. Sammy Mitchell was smart. Pulled the ball out of the little rucker down the front. He ran off and put some pressure on the opposition. Kicked it up there. Actually, Jared Rivers went for it. It's very hard to catch with your eyes closed. I'll say that, I can assure you. And he ducked his head. And that's not what you want to see from an experienced player at Melbourne. It's getting to the lows now. And then an easy goal to Ryan Hooper. But really good play by Sammy Mitchell. Very poor by Jared Rivers.
It's 86 plays 12. Early stages of the third term. Jamar and Renoff. Renoff wins the tap for Hawthorn. Ground level, no possession for Liam Shields. It's tucked up underneath him. Second attempt. A lot more around it. No ruckman lays a hand on it. Guerra's coming through. Tumbles the ball up through centre half. Lewis came with the raised forearm. Grimes is lucky to escape, and Lewis would have been in the book and gone for sure. Heavy tackle laid by Brown. Birchall kicks them into the pocket, and Ryan Hooper arrives to take the mark.
A few Melbourne players not happy with Jordan Lewis. But you're right, he's lucky he missed.
He would have been looking at a substantial number of weeks out if he'd made contact there. It was reckless in the extreme. Ryan Hooper's in the right forward pocket. He'll start one step in from the boundary. 25 out from goal. Hooper's pushed this across the face all the way and hit the behind post on the full. No score. 86 plays 12 still.
So Jamar, adjudged to be the nearest player there. He'll take the free kick into play. I'm sure you'd pick him by choice. Kicks it very high, but clears the defensive 50. They set themselves, and Dunn, caught behind, has to punch away, and the ball out of play. 86 plays 12, and we've played 8.5 minutes in the third quarter.
What's wrong with Jamar? He's their leading goal kicker for the year.
Yes. Hit the gold leaf out for the honour board already. From the stoppage, it comes down. A little hand pass to Mitchell. Hand pass comes out to Ellis, who has a bit of a fumble. Some rugby scrum in there. And Brown tries to force his way out. It was Birchall, and the umpire had blown the whistle for a stoppage. Front edge of the centre square. Thrown up by the umpire. Ranoff wins for Hawthorn. Mitchell roving, doesn't get a possession. Sean Makers is there. Mitchell now gets a possession, gets the hand pass out. Birchall, back he goes. Gibson, kick to half forward. Hooper gets rid of Bennell. Hooper at the 50. Bang with a low penetrating kick. A goal. Shepherded through in the goal square. Great team play by Jared Roughhead. And Hooper gets his second goal in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that about half a dozen players, including Luke Hodge, have run back to Sam Mitchell and give him a pat on the back, because his contest there, where I thought he was out of about 3 or 4, not just second effort, but third and fourth effort, to just hustle and bustle, put contest pressure on the ball to be able to release it and it goes out. And tell you what, Hooper he's actually really enjoying it now. He's just got a taste of this and says, hey, this is not a bad little beside, and if I can get him out in the open, I've got a bit of speed, I'm going to turn him inside out. Just kick it to me and I'm going to let you know what I can do. And that's what he did. Pounced on the ball, came back. It was one of those raking left foot kicks, and the big fella in the goal square, Roughhead, just let it usher through.
Roughhead's gone into the ruck. Hodge with first possession to Mitchell. He's dispossessed. McKenzie ran over it. Pennard was able to gather. He gives it to James McDonald. Puts the Demons inside the 50. They all pile in. Here's Brad Green. Lazarus kicks a goal at the back. Onto a bouncing ball. The Demons with their second at the 10-minute mark of the third term. It's 14-8-92, plays 2-6-18.
Unbelievable. Long kick into the forward line. A contest. Hello. Get it up in there, bring it to the ground. Someone runs onto it. Brad Green was lucky enough. He was over the back. They just contest in the air, 1 against 3, and that was Miller who contested, and that's really what he's supposed to do, and he did a good job there with that one, and Green just fell to his feet and in for a goal off the ground. Well done, Green. Come back on after that nasty-looking injury he sort of may have had at the start of the game. Looked terrible, but he's back on the ground. He's kicked a goal. Well done.
Obviously got the clearance from the medical staff. Left the ground in a neck brace on the stretcher, and he's back. One in the middle. Trengo gets the hand pass away. And the kick forward for Melbourne by McKenzie. They're deep inside the 50, but Schoenmakers has it for Hawthorn. Little left foot kick, puts it out in front of Lewis. He runs onto the bouncing ball up short of the wing. The kick by Lewis is okay. Shields good enough. Back to Lewis, but his hand pass is chopped off by Bruce. Here comes Melbourne again. McKenzie gets the hand pass up and a bone-crunching tackle by Hodge in copybook Hodge style. And the Melbourne player picks himself up. James Strauss on debut. Striking. What hit? Free kick in there. And to Hodge. Guess who? Little hand pass to Ladson. And Ladson pokes one over the top. Good running here by Kayla Thompson, the West Australian. He gets to the 50 and goes from wide out. Rocket! Not quite the mark. Off his fingertips and through for a minor score. Hawthorn 14-9 to 2-6.
Melbourne have had their troubles with the kick-in this afternoon. And no short option, so just the long, strong and hoping ball in the Spencer direction. It falls to ground. Bate tries to paddle it forward. Meeting him the other way is Murphy for the Hawks, and he wins it. Puts it through Birchall to Hodge. Long range, gives it the lot, drags it across the body and through for a behind. They're up by 76, the Hawks. Adam White.
Sometimes you can see things from ground level. When that kick was coming back into play, not one Melbourne player was showing any movement at all for that short pass. So there was only one long kick because there was no option for the guy kicking it in.
Gee, Kayla Thompson kicked in short. He got it back from Frawley. Now he's got to kick again. This is a first gamer. His heart must be jumping out of his jumper. He kicks longer this time, but close to the boundary line and out of bounds on the full. Well, Dean Bailey's got to give the job to somebody else. Hawthorn have it, take it quickly. It is punched away, taken by Grimes on defensive 50. Sweeps the hand pass to Trengo. He's slung to the ground. Hasn't had a moment's peace all day. Spills to Dunn. Hawthorn have it again. Well done, Shields. Might have been holding it. He is holding it. And it's going to be a Melbourne free.
You can see the difference in the work rate between both sides. Hawthorn are really charging at it and really putting their body in line. The Melbourne are just coasting along. It's absolutely horrendous.
Green kicked it out to the wing. Bate was outnumbered, whisked away by Morton through Mitchell. Hawks back inside the 50. Too strong for Roughhead. Osborne at the back. Paddles it in. Hand pass to Roughhead. Got it to his boot and hit the post. He was between the behind and the goal post. Had to dribble it toward the opening. It went all the way across and hit the padding on the opposite side. 77 points the Hawks lead.
Inside 50s for this quarter, 10-2 or 11-2 now in favour of Hawthorn, 45-19 for the game. But Ruffy's had a few chances. He's kicked 1 goal, 3 and 1 out of bounds. Cameron Bruce has it for Melbourne at half-back flank. Steers the pass up short to Dunn. Back to Bruce. Inboard to Grimes inside the centre square. Grimes with a kick to centre half forward. Ill-directed. And Ryan Hooper takes the mark. 2 great goals in this quarter. And he's pinpoint left footer out towards the logo. Great Southern Sand side. No mark there for Hawthorn. Knocked on by Ladson. Further knocked on by Mitchell. But now intercepted by Bruce for the D's. Has a bounce. Fires away the hand pass. Chance for Pettard. He kicks up short of the 50. Murphy for Hawthorn. Bounces off his chest. The Hawks are there in numbers. Hodge runs into trouble. The whistle had gone, though. It's going to be a Melbourne free kick. And Hodge having a little remonstration there.
It was a throw.
He's a bull, isn't he? That Hodge is just powerful.
Taken by McKenzie for Melbourne, but the defensive mark taken by Murphy for Hawthorn. Now Shields, and a little hand pass away to Birchall.
Birchall brings them up through Shellmakers. He kicks to half forward. Brown worked under the contest and Grimes marks unopposed at the back. He gives his hand pass to Warnock. Brings them out on the members' side of the ground. Out in front of Maloney. Gathers the bouncing ball. Flicks the hand pass over the top to Jones. He takes on the tacklers. He gets caught. Has to give it back to Maloney, who followed up. Kicks to half forward. Brad Green. Right at the point of centre half forward, inside the 50. Miller goes back with the fly, bounces off his fingertips, he gets it back and dribbles the goal. Brad Miller with his first. The D's have kicked 2 for the term and 3 for the match. 3-6-24, trailing Hawthorn 14-11, 95, 16 minutes played of the third on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I reckon that was nearly their best bit of play.
Absolutely.
There was some positivity. And I think one of the players I'll give a little pat in the back from that point of view was Maloney. Gave the handball. It didn't work, but he kept going. He kept coming, so he was able to get the football, facing up the long kick in. Brad Green now playing out of the square, virtually centre half forward, full forward area. He came up, took the mark, fed off, big kick back in there, and I'm glad for Miller. Look, I don't think he's really up to the standard, and he's not playing very well, but for his confidence and for Melbourne, that's a big plus.
Jamar hits the ground. Renouf wins the ball, gets the hand pass to Guerra, who busts through the middle. Hand pass away to Hodge, draws a couple, fires it out to Osborne. Aussie off the left boot. Oh, he's leant back on it and sprayed it out of bounds on the full. He had more time and space than he knew, and 50 metres was never going to bother him. Disappointing kick. Hawthorn 14-11 to 3-6.
Warnock steps into the field of play from the resulting free kick. Kicks long to Jamar, well outnumbered, and Renouf again. That's the second time he's been able to rise and take a big mark. Through Shields to Guerra, back into the pocket. Osborne, take 2, settles, kicks, misses again. At least he scored this time. So they're butchering a few opportunities here at Hawthorn to extend their lead. You can when you lead by 72.
Osborne kicked 2 goals in the first quarter, but since then 1 out of bounds and 1 behind. Ball comes into Joel McDonald, who short passes to Bennell. Bennell across the face of goal, could be dangerous. Oh, great contest by Campbell Brown. He knocks it down for Ruffy, and Roughhead snaps a left foot goal. A big assist to Brown. And Brown's come up with cramp or something more serious. He's being treated, but his teammates all go over to him. Hawthorn's 15th goal. They're 15-12 to 3-6.
Well, Campbell Brown has been absolutely outstanding in the forward line. But this is the best team game I've ever seen him play. He always plays like this, but it's actually shone out today at the stuff that he does. He knocks it back. He works for his teammates. He's not about himself. It's all about what we can do to make the scoreboard larger. And Campbell Brown is a shining light in that forward line. He's tackling hard. He's working very difficult situations sometimes. But really, well done to Campbell Brown. Ruffy would be, how good are you, son? That's the thing he would say. Thank you very much. That was just a soda.
Runs off to the bench, Campbell Brown. That was the ruckus you heard. Some cheers, some boos, depending on who you're supporting. Out of the middle. First possession is won by Dunn. He bounces it up to half forward. Aaron Davey tracks the ball, gathers and puts it inside 50. He's kick favoured Pettard, but he dropped the mark. He leaves it there for Shields of Hawthorn. Kicks into the middle. Osborne didn't take it, but it ricochets straight into the trusty hands of Luke Hodge. Now up to Peterson. He thought about taking them on. He slipped over, and James McDonald claims him for holding the ball.
Melbourne skipper. Goes the short pass. Green marks forward of the circles. Hand pass to McDonald, formerly of Brisbane. It's now a contest at ground level. Osborne lays a good tackle. A bone cruncher. High, says umpire McLaren. It's going to be a couple of Melbourne players remonstrating here with Osborne.
I think they'd be better off actually putting their head over the ball and running at it hard instead of trying to fight and wrestle and bustle.
So
they're getting killed in that area.
A 50-metre penalty. So Grimes has the pill at the moment. Not sure it's his kick, though. Who is it going to be? Yeah, McDonald. Joel McDonald with the free kick. She's been taken a long way. 50 metres. Is that all it was? So McDonald will be right in front with a set shot for goal from about 25 metres. They trail 102 to 24. McDonald, he sprays it right and misses. You just have to kick those. That was disgraceful. 3-7 to 15-12.
That's a 77-point margin. Guerra into the left back pocket on the kick-in. So the Hawks sort of set themselves up on the back and forward thrust across goal here. Instead of going out the left, they'll come out the right as Gillum delivers it out to Osborne. He took it on the bounce. He's dispossessed. Jones trying to win it. Birchall does. Tumbles the kick around the wing. It went through the hands of Strauss, who's having a tough debut. Rivers is barging through, though, for Melbourne. He gives it to Davey. Some excitement at last. A bounce and a long shot at goal, which will be touched on the line by Brent Guerra. Hawks by 76.
And Guerra kicks in. Davies a chance to get this. Just over his head, though. And it's taken by Shields. Little hand pass to Murphy. Hawthorn in possession. Murphy to Lewis. Back to Murphy. Up to Ladson at centre half back. He beats a man. Ladson's kick off the left to Brown. Why not? Here he is with Frawley. It bounces past the two of them. Taken for Melbourne by Scully. Scully gets it back from McDonald. Scully has a bounce, gets inside the centre square. Hand pass to Rivers. Rivers goes back to a man standing still, Jones. Jones not sure where to go. He kicks towards half forward, and McDonald takes the mark, fires away the hand pass, and a shot for goal by Trengo is marked on the line, came up short, and Guerra saves another one.
He kicks it out to Birchall. Low down now for Murphy. Outside the defensive 50 for Reynolds. He looks up the wing. There are options aplenty. Delivers for Schoenmakers. Plays on. Wheels out into the left boot. Took a fair while. Schoenmakers sets it inside the 50. Roughhead with a couple to beat. Swiping save put on over the top by Joel McDonald, and he'll gather in the defensive goal square. His kick is better at the other end of the ground. He finds Scully. Left foot drop punt up the wing. Maloney had to be brave going with the flight. Coming the other way and really forcing the issue there was Suckling. And Suckling gets the free kick for some high contact from Maloney. He puts it up through Morton. Now it goes on to Ladson. Inside the 50. Poor kick. Got under it. Chipped it up in the air. And Grimes takes the mark for Melbourne.
He's had a very good quarter, the young Grimes. So be in real trouble without him down the back.
Crossy goes to the defensive goal square to Frawley. Frawley back to Grimes. Look out! Ellis closed him down, but Grimes takes the mark. Still in the back pocket. Pokes one over the top, just outside the 50. And the mark's taken by Scully. Runs away. Raking left foot kick to the middle of the ground. A pack gathers. A few players hit the ground hard. Suckling the first one back there for Hawthorn. He gathers. Hand pass comes into Gillum. Gillum not out of trouble yet. He's given it up. The hand pass comes to Davey of Melbourne. His hand pass is knocked down. It spills fortunately for Trengove. He ducks a high tackle and goes for his first goal. But once again it is touched on the line. Schoenmakers get back there to make the spoil and rush the behind. So he's had a couple of chances in the last couple of minutes here. Jack Trengove on debut to get his first league goal. He's still come up short.
Kick into Gibson. On he goes to Hooper. Sideways now to Birchall. They're at half back. Inside the centre square goes the kick for Lewis. He'll hand pass over the top to Hodge. Got a quick decision to make here. Ran into the tackles. Got caught. Couldn't give it off. Holding the ball. The option was actually probably out to Ellis that should have been taken by Lewis. But Hodge does tend to demand the footy. Scully with the resulting free kick.
Good tackle by the young man.
Long to half forward. Gibson read it well. He rises gracefully to claim the mark. Hand pass across the face of goal to Suckling. He's in the back pocket. He ran into a dead end. Hand pass wasn't utterly convincing. Guerra's got to get away from Bate. Did sufficiently well. Kicks it now to Lewis. He's at half back. He's calling for calm with a 75-point lead at their backs.
Just looking for Bate. 10 possessions for him. He's been pretty quiet. Hawthorn have it. Murphy runs it down the wing. Up towards half forward to Hodge. Gathers on the first bounce. Hodge kicks around Scully to the goal square. 2 against 2. At the back, Brown. Oh, he had it spent before he got it. Taken to ground. Hand passes away. Another chance for Roughhead, who snaps for goal. He hooks it back too far. And he is kicking point after point here. He's got 1 goal, 4, and 1 out of bounds. Hawthorn 15... No, they've given that a goal. It's 15-13 to Melbourne, 3 goals, 9.
As if Melbourne's problems aren't significant enough without the scoreboard giving Hawthorn goals for behinds.
Yeah.
Strauss brings it into the field of play. Frawley takes the mark. Nowhere to go. He has to send it back whence it came. So it's still the problem of Strauss. Oh, and he's kicked it straight to Peterson. It's actually quite unfair on a young player, I think, to saddle him with this one.
Definitely.
He's not up to it, and that's okay. This is his debut game, and kicking in is a hard thing to do. I can't understand why you would deflate a bloke in this manner by keeping him on the job there.
It's very difficult when you've got a lot of blokes who don't actually want it.
Left forward pocket, Carl Peterson. Not a lot of daylight between the posts. Runs around a little, sends it well across the face. Misses the lot. It's out on the full.
The old bent knee kick, that was. But he's kicked a goal on debut. Carl Peterson from Claremont. He was on the Richmond list, and then St Mary's in Darwin, making his debut at the age of 22. The kick in by Warnock. Punch forward by Murphy for Hawthorn at half forward. The ball kept alive and still in the field of players. Lewis breaks a feeble tackle. And they're going backwards in possession until the ball's squared up by Birchall. Oh, he's trouble. Gillam drops it. Regains it. Well done, Brad Green. Melbourne could get it here, but there's no one forward. The hand pass comes out from Trengove to Bate, who goes for a bounce. It's a shocking bounce. He's run down from behind by Gibson, and under pressure kicks the ball out of bounds on the full. You wouldn't believe it. He looked up and he had nobody in front of him for about 80 metres, but when he went for the bounce, it was a shocker which didn't come back to him.
Hodges' kick was something approaching perfection out of the back line, up to the near enough to the wing for Gillam, sideways to Lewis.
Georgia, I think every other side in the competition would sit here today and watch Hodge and go, wow, he is back in peak form, peak fitness. He's been outstanding.
He's got it again. Lewis has kicked it back to him.
25 posies for Hodge.
How many Dream Team points?
200.
106 already.
I think I might have to make a change.
Sideways to Birchall.
Still a quarter to play.
No, not a quarter. Next week.
Kayla Thompson has brought it up to the wing for Hawthorn as they look to build again. Murphy puts it out in front of Guerra, spins in the tackle. Cut off though by Scully at half back. His hand pass was a little aimless. He has to fight in again. It's a good little scrap for the ball here. Pettard got himself low and he got some high contact. And he comes up with the free kick.
28 and a half minutes played in the third quarter. 103 plays 27. Hawthorn a mile in front. Kick taken by Trengove down the line. And the mark's taken by Cameron Bruce. Great Southern stand side. Overcast, mild conditions. Kick by Bruce. Bate in the middle of the pack, can't take the mark. Maloney goes through and goes without it, but receives the hand pass eventually from Spencer. Maloney up towards the 50, where it's taken by McKenzie. McKenzie towards the goal square, and Brad Green takes the mark, running in the same direction as the ball. Lyndon Dunn probably thought it was his, but Green wanted it more than his teammate. Well, this is some sort of a comeback by Brad Green, because when he left the field in the first quarter in a neck brace, we thought, gee, how bad's this going to be? How many games are you going to miss? And he was back before half-time, and now he's kicked his second goal. 2 goals in the third quarter, and when the team's only kicked 4, that is a massive contribution. Melbourne 4-9, Hawthorn 15-13.
Yeah, look, it's been a good little story, and it's a positive for him. He's actually given them something up there, something they never had in the first half. Somebody to go to, and I think also somebody has a few footy smarts and knows what to do. It was for somebody who's been off the ground with a possible neck injury. It was a very brave attempt to run and mark the ball going that way. I might also say I think that there's some pluses from the Melbourne perspectives. I think in this quarter, I've mentioned young Grimes across halfback has been good, but I think also that Scully and Trengove have found their feet. in this quarter. Better than before. They've started to get into the contest and everything like that. They're probably starting to play. They stood back, and I think, in awe in the first half, but they've really got involved in this third term.
It's a 70-point margin. Lewis wins it out of the middle for Hawthorn, drives them deep. Roughhead competes and wins the mark. He stood in front of a couple. They closed on him hellishly, but he was still able on the second grab to bring it in.
He's having a longer run up this time.
Yes, well, that's been one of the lessons of what we've seen so far, is he's meddled with something that has worked very well for him. This is much more like Roughhead, 5 or 6 steps. He's still dragged it across the face, though. He's kicked 2 goals, 5, Jared Roughhead, on that miss. And at three-quarter time, it's Hawthorn 15 goals, 14, 104, leading Melbourne 4-9-33. The goal kickers for the Hawks, 3 for Brown, 2 each to Roughhead, Osborne, Hooper and Moss, with singles to Ladson, Hodge, Morton and Peterson. While for Melbourne, 2 to Green and 1 to Miller in that term, and J-Mark kicked their only goal of the first half. Three-quarter time at the MCG. It's Hawthorn by 71. It's all unfolding on Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, Radio Australia, digital radio and online at afl.com.au.
Want to grow apples? Annette McFarlane tells you how and what to grow in the latest edition of Organic Gardener magazine. Burdock may be tough and unglamorous, but it has a delicious edible root. Find out how to grow and use burdock with Penny Woodward. Can you help save rare breeds of farm animals? Organic Gardener magazine, March-April edition available now from ABC shops, centres, newsagents and online.
Grandstand AFL.
And pass back. Oh! Roughhead lays a good tackle. The ball's up for Brown. Campbell Brown for goal. Oh, tremendous play by the Hawks.
Goes long and direct. It falls to the front of the pack. Jared Morton snaps at goal and the Hawks get another.
Towards full forward. Oh, drop mark in defence. Spills to Hooper. Hooper buries the goal. Hooper gets rid of Bennell. Hooper at the 50. Bang with a low penetrating kick. A goal.
Inside the 50, they all pile in. Here's Brad Green. Lazarus kicks a goal at the back. Inside the 50, Miller goes back with the flight, bounces off his fingertips, he gets it back and dribbles the goal.
Oh, great contest by Campbell Brown. He knocks it down for Ruffy, and Roughhead snaps a left foot goal. A big assist to Brown.
AFL on ABC Local Radio.
It's Hawthorn by 71 points over Melbourne at three-quarter time. Mark McClure's with Stan Alves.
Well, look, Hawthorn dominated the first half, and we're just wondering what we would see. I mean, half-time gives two sides a chance to reflect. From my perspective, I was wondering whether Hawthorn would come out, controlling a game, 56 points in front. Perhaps would they take the foot off the gas? Melbourne's perspective, Dean Bailey and his coaches would have had a chance to regroup them and just settle them down, but come back and say, this is what we want to do. Well, let me tell you, it went from bad to worse for Melbourne because it was Hawthorn, came out absolutely sensational. It was just a total dominance of the game, continued on their merry way, led by a dominant midfield. I mean, some players in there. When you've got people like Mitchell and you got Lewis, picking up somewhere around about 20 possessions to date, and then Hodge, because the reality is, especially like I say, it's about Hodge, his 20 possessions are worth about 40 because what he does with them and the use of the ball and his delivery of the footy is just sensational. So you can imagine they're getting that. They've got players with run coming magnificently out of the defensive area. The ball's coming into the forward line. Well, what more could you want? And I thought it was just fantastic then. Roughhead, if he had his kicking boots on, he should have kicked 6 or 7 at least. But the other thing I liked is the unselfishness at forward line. The work between he and Brown, they've both been responsible for each other. Some of the protective work we took in the first half of Brown holding people off, but then the tackle of Roughhead which allowed Brown to kick a goal, and then the fantastic effort by Brown to set up Roughhead. And then Ryan Hooper's just he's starting to realise, gee, I might have a position in this side too, because he's got explosive pace. He now is able to find the ball in the open spaces, and he's kicked a couple of goals in that quarter. What can we say from Melbourne's perspective? Well, I think the only little positives were that Green, who looked like he suffered that terrible injury, came back and was played up the forward line, and for the first time looked like there was somebody that actually knew what they were doing. He was able to lead up, go into space, set a few things up, and they looked as if there's a little cohesion. Had that fantastic little patch between the 10 and 15 minute mark, kicked a couple of consecutive goals. The first time, and the footy was starting because I think the players we've got to, and I think it's so important, mate. Put the ball and you the best thing is to see the bloke who runs in division. When you've got to try and find somebody, that's when so the other one I did mention was I thought that Grimes halfback, he showed composure, and the other one I just mentioned, Scully and Trengrove. I just genuinely believe that in that quarter they started to find their footy in league football, started to win the ball. Scully probably a little bit better than Trengrove, getting on that left foot and looking up in that way. But gee, they are just small mercies in a side that's being slaughtered.
Jared Cameron, some of the numbers?
Yes, Stan mentioned Trengrove, Grimes and Scully. They all had 9 possessions in that quarter. For Melbourne, Bruce's had 21 possessions, made up of 5 kicks and 16 hand passes. Frawley 19. For Hawthorn, Luke Hodge with 26 possessions is the game high. He's also had 11 contested possessions and 7 clearances. Jordan Lewis 23, Mitchell 21, Birchall and Ladson both 20. Inside 50, it's Hawthorn 52 to 29. Hawthorn have had 52 more possessions, made up of 49 more kicks and just 3 more hand passes. Marks have favoured Hawthorn 88 to 64. Free kicks have gone Melbourne's way 20 to 18, as of the rucks 27 to 19.
It's the Hawks by 71. In the cricket, Australia bowled out today for 231 in the second test at Hamilton. New Zealand at stumps 1 for 19. And in the Group 1 Rosehill, Guinea's just run, Zabrasiv has held off Rock Classic by the proverbial nose to achieve victory for John O'Shea. Run for Nara finished third.
How did the word get up to Sydney that I was on Rock Classic? I clearly weighed the horse down. We got beaten by an inch.
It was home at the 300, home at the 200, home at the 100, and somehow lost the photo. Only you can do that, you know.
It was a truism for sure.
Just the Dream Team numbers, Jared, if you would. We'll just have a look who the leaders there are. The Hawks by 71 as players break up.
Dream Team, Hodge 103, Lewis 101, Mitchell 75. And for Melbourne, Bruce 76, Frawley 69. And that's not quite in order. So I'll just take that Melbourne one again. Mackenzie 76, Bruce 76, McDonald 76 and Grimes 74.
So Hodge leading all comers.
Just a little bit about Geordie Mackenzie. He played 3 games last year. He's another one from the Geelong Falcons. Gee, haven't they spread their players around the league?
Hawks coming home to the punt road end. Adam White, any thoughts from ground level?
No, not really, to be honest. I mean, it's just watching Melbourne then in that 3/4 time huddle. I still think they're shell-shocked because they had so much optimism, as we know, going into this season, into this match, and it was all over after about 10 minutes. They're still recovering.
Jamar against Renouf at the centre bounce. They sort of danced around each other. Renouf won the tap. Shields started in the middle. He got first possession, but he gave it up to Maloney. The Demons with the opening chance of the final term, and it's strongly marked by Brad Green, who has really re-entered the game in fine style after a worrying injury at the start of the day. He's outside the 50, and surely couldn't be goaling from there. He might give it his best from 54. He got right onto it. It floats. It's touched by Renouf right on the line.
And that's exactly where a ruckman should be. On a long kick like that, to get back and cover that line, because the tallest bloke can put a hand on it, is exactly perfect.
And the kick in, taken by Suckling, outside the 50. Gillum, further afield. And now to Jared Morton, who is way back at half-back for the Hawks. Plenty of movement ahead of him, so he goes short. And the mark's taken by Moss, who worked well. He waits for Mitchell, who takes the mark half a step in front of James McDonald. Mitchell centres the ball where the mark's taken by Morton. Away to Hodge, his kick to half-forward. One-hander plucked by Hooper. 55 from goal. Kick by Hooper to rough head in the goal square. He marks. And the applause, apart from thousands of Hawthorn fans coming from Stan Alves behind. Terrific vision by Hooper, and what a delivery off the left. Now, Jared Ruffhead, he's kicked 2 goals, 5. Point blank range. He's kicked it at last. Third for the game, 16-14, 110 to Melbourne, 4-10-34.
Yeah, it was a brilliant goal by the Hawks. They set it up beautifully. That little chip pass, Moss waited, and that little chip pass to Mitchell in the middle of the ground, and his first reaction was not to stand still, it was to play on immediately. Got it through the middle of the ground, Hodge got hold of it, and then there was another handball, and then it's out to Ryan Hooper and did a one-hand mark. But he didn't stop either. He just played on again. So what happens is it just puts more pressure on the defence of Melbourne, and there was so much space. What they do is they find space, then they kick it to the place where they know, and they trust each other to get the ball into the right spots. They certainly did, and Ruffhead took an easy one, kicked a goal.
Hawthorn by 76 points. Jamar crashes into Renouf and wins the tap down to Maloney. Hand pass to Trengo. Gives it out the back to Grimes. Measures up his options. Decides the kick is the way to Brad Green. Takes it on the bounce. Gillam is with him. He just tipped it out of his hands. In dispute for a moment. Dunn comes through for Melbourne. Sets it up inside the 50. 5-man pack. Brad Green was the crummer. Didn't take possession. Gibson's under pressure when he did. Into the pocket with a hand pass. Loose at ground level. Renouf gets caught with it as he pulls it in. Gibson's going to emerge with it for Hawthorn to Lewis. They all come at him. Petard sticks the tackle and wins holding the ball. Ricky Petard to go back and have the shot at goal.
That's the first bit of forward pressure we've seen from the Melbourne side so far this game, and that's taken them over 100 minutes almost to get there. It's really poor. But that was good.
He missed an easier shot than this earlier in the day. It's a slight angle. And he's 20 metres out from goal. Petard making his approach. Skips in. Launches it through from 80. The Demons cancel out the first of the final term from Ruffhead. Ricky Petard is on the board. It's 5-10-40, plays 16-14, 110.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. It was something we just haven't seen all day, and it was almost a gang tackle, wasn't it? It wasn't just leaving it to one person, because I've seen so often in this game what's happened is that one person's tried to lay a tackle, and Hawthorn have been able to shrug that. But if you actually get somebody who stands a bloke up in the tackle, the next person's the one who can actually bury them. And so that happened, and Petard was able to do what he should have done earlier in this game, and that is kick a goal from about 20 metres out.
Back in the middle with umpire McLaren. Hurls it into the turf. Not his best bounce of the day. Jamar wins the hit out down to James McDonald, who wobbles the ball inside the 50 for the D's. Gibson hits it hard and toes it forward. Regathers, hand passes over his head. That's good play. Taken by Kayla Thompson, who finds Lewis. Stabs the pass up the ground to Hooper. Back to Kayla Thompson, but the hand pass too far forward of him. He gathers. Here comes Jamar to close him down. Kayla Thompson slips to the ground but recovers his footing and kicks inside the 50, and the mark's taken by Joel McDonald for the D's. He kicks over halfback, 2 against 2 in this contest. It comes to ground level, flipped over the top towards Mitchell for the Hawks. Back there is Rivers for Melbourne. Up to James McDonald, his hand pass inboard to Maloney. In between halfback and the centre of the ground. Back to Rivers he goes. Out wide to Dunn. Further afield to James McDonald. Kick by McDonald off the left, and the mark's taken by Bruce. Forward of the wing, Great Southern stand side. 110-40, Hawthorn well in charge. They led by 36 at quarter time, 56 at half time. Now there's a 50-metre penalty, and Cameron Bruce, no doubt, will get on the scorecard for the D's. He is scoreless for the day, but he'll be kicking for goal from about 25 metres. Well, he doesn't. He kicks from 50. Why did you do that? But he's found a man in the goal square. Petard marks, plays on, and kicks the goal. Kicks his second of this final term. But, gee, he had to take a contested mark over the top of Gibson to get there. Melbourne 6-10, Hawthorn 16-14.
Yes, Whitey?
There's been quite a scene down here. We've just had a fight in the members. between a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. One wearing Hawthorn colours, one wearing Melbourne colours. And Demon fans, there's been a victory because the Hawthorn little boy was the one that's ended up crying.
They'll never get full memberships, those two.
Well, again, Pettard's able to kick, and they've kicked two in a row. That will buoy them. That came about because Sam Mitchell, actually, the umpire felt had not given enough space to Bruce and was impeding his mark, so 50-metre penalty went down there. Just got to say, it's heart and mouth stuff when you just pass the ball as you should drill, though, yourself.
Margin back to 64. Jamar thumps it out of the ruck, knocked on by Jones. It breaks down though at Birchall. Hand passes for Mitchell. He's dragged down by Davey. Pack forwards. Ball is lost in there.
Doesn't it show you a little bit about Bruce, though? He's just lacks confidence in himself to do things. 30 metres out, you should just bang those through. Bread and butter.
Still inside the centre square. Jamar had a fresh area at it. Trengove to Scully. Hand pass was knocked down, but he gets it back. Delivers to his intended man in Dunn. His hand pass was awful. Shields takes it over his shoulder. Gives it off there to Morton. Now to Schoenmakers. Brings it up to Moss. So some of the lesser lights for the Hawks conspire to bring it up to half forward. Osborne flies against Rivers. Rivers falls down, hurt. Osborne goes and gets the footy. Grimes tackles him. Bruce slides through, kicks it off the ground accidentally. And as his day is going, he's booted it out on the full.
Another super effort by Osborne. Kick into play taken by Moss. Good mark taken by Jamar, getting back in the last line for the D's. With the big beard, Mark Jamar. Kicks a high ball, barely to the 50. Makes it tough for Bate, who flies but can't take the mark. Any amount of Hawks at ground level, but it's batted on there by Davey. Goes to Joel McDonald. He gets the hand pass to Scully. Scully across the ground to a 2-on-1 situation. 2 for Hawthorn. It's won by Birchall. Birchall concedes some ground. Back he goes to Schoenmakers. Deep inside the square near the circles. Kick by Schoenmakers. Oh, and he found a man in space. Didn't absolutely love the effort by Murphy to take it. It's taken behind by Davey, who kicks to midfield. And the mark's taken by Trengove. Goes to ground. Regathers his footing. Hand pass to Bate. Poor old kick. Straight to Gibson of Hawthorn. Too high for Pettard.
He'll be one of the subjects of the post-match, Gibson, and how he slotted it in the Hawthorn backline. Goes across the face of goal through Murphy, out to Birchall. Brings it to right half back now. Mitchell is marking. To his side is Shields demanding the ball. Hodge drifting into that vicinity as well. Mitchell does go to Hodge. Back edge of the centre square. Well, not a great kick to Suckling, who didn't really handle it that neatly. Hard ball to be won at centre half forward for Melbourne. It's tied up in a stalemate. Adam White.
We can see Jared Rivers just coming up holding his midriff. He doesn't look too good. He's coughing and spluttering as he comes to the bench, so not a great sign. And Brent Renouf off again, limping. Something's not quite right with the Hawthorn ruckman.
Trengove took it from the stoppage, hand passed it over his head. Ellis cut it off for Hawthorn, hand passed it in a muddle, a real jumble, taken by Jones, taken to ground. Ball again will have to be bounced.
Actually, something's going wrong with all the Hawthorn ruckmen. Hardly got any left. There's a bit of activity overhead. Jets flying around. Grand Prix practice day, just not far from the MCG at Albert Park. From the stoppage, it's taken away by Quera for Hawthorn, who kicks to half forward, but the mark taken by Frawley for Melbourne. He kicks over the wing. Burnell is there. Oh, good punch by Hooper. By gee, he's earned his stripes today. Ryan Hooper, the former Brisbane Lion, and causes a stoppage at centre wing right below us here, members' side of the MCG. Jamar works to the front, gets some assistance from Dunn, but there was a push out. It's going to be a Hawthorn free. It's going to be, which way is it going to go? Jamar's free kick, and he takes it by hand. He goes to James McDonald. Touched off the boot. The ball sits up at half forward. Taken by Lewis. Hand pass to Mitchell. Across half back he goes. And the mark's taken by Birchall. He concedes some ground. Backwards to Schoenmakers, who advances the ball. Now to Ellis. Ellis just behind the wing. Puts it out in space. Moss can't quite get there, but Hooper's there to pick up the crumbs. Hand pass. And bursting onto this is Murphy. He's pulled down from behind Shields and pulled off his kick.
Melbourne in defence. They hold up. Grimes to Bennell and back to Grimes. Arches the back and scoots away. Bounces through defensive 50 and a second bounce. He's going to be the leader of the back line, Grimes, in the coming years. He probably already is. His kick was looking for bait. It didn't find him. Suckling worked him off the ball. Kicks into the middle of the ground. A handy little athletic effort by Ellis as the ball threatened to get away from him. Sideways to Gibson. Down the southern side now. The Hawks have broken it open. Birchall's alone and unattended. Into the pocket. Roughheads on the lead. Warnock goes with him. Makes the spoil. Ball loose in the forward pocket. Melbourne play for the boundary. Frawley sees it there. It's 110 plays 46. The Hawks leading.
12 minutes played in the last quarter. Throw in Hawthorn's forward line. Comes underfoot to Dunn. Middle of the pack. Mitchell snaps for goals. He kicked it. Miracle by the Hawthorn captain. He had about 20 players around him. The ball emerged out of the forest and went straight through for the goal. Hawthorn 17-14 to 6-10.
Well, he's just he's an outstanding player, isn't he? And what a tick for somebody who's just been told you're too slow, you're too small, and every those different things. But I tell you what, when you've got a footy brain, when you've got a heart as big as your head yourself inside that rib cage, you just keep going with a contested situation. His ability to put himself in the contest, to put himself into it, the ability then to go forward and to kick that goal, he's an outstanding player. And he's really, along with this midfield today, he and Hodge and Lewis and that, they have really just set the scene.
In the middle, another poor bounce well outside the circle. Spencer wins it down to Maloney, up to the top of the square, going back. Gibson makes the spoil, committed himself fully, launched himself at it, edged it away and out of play.
That's what we talk about, doing the right thing at the right time. Left his man to go and help his mate, came across, sacrificed himself, threw himself in the air, Gibson, and punched away. They continue to do the right things all the time.
The Demons have it deep forward. Lewis goes propelling out of the pack at the back. No call from the umpire. Dunn down to James McDonald. Had more time than he thought. He swings it onto the boot, out into the pocket. But the Hawks will repel again. It's a handy little mark taken by, is that Suckling? Just in the back pocket. His kick is very poor. Miller's able to cut it off. Bouncing through is Maloney. Out to James McDonald. Hand passes sideways to McKenzie. They're leaking ground in possession, Melbourne. Green to Joel McDonald. Back inside the 50. Oh, baited, slipped through his fingers. Suckling had it again. Hand passed it off to Kayla Thompson. Got it back. Suckling's kick was better this time. He's played for space and out near the boundary. He gained a lot of territory before it's cut off by Joel McDonald. He kicks to the members' wing for Cameron Bruce.
You were being bombed here. Hand pass comes back. Brad Green, a raking left footer to the goal square. No mark. Comes to the front. Kayla Thompson, somehow the ball's worked out. Guerra clears the defensive area, and on defensive 50, Xavier Ellis takes the mark for the Hawks. Pokes the pass into Hodge, who takes the mark. Hodge now towards midfield with a magnificent kick.
It's a beautiful kick.
How about that? Mark taken by Gillum. He doesn't kick too many goals. He has a ping from 55. Stephen Gillum. Oh, he's hit the post. Oh, would have been a career highlight. Hawthorn 17-15, 117 to Melbourne 6-10, 46.
Still the fighter plane doing its work overhead. Kick in is coming back. All wasn't in readiness for Warnock. Gillum had only kicked 2 goals in his career right to that moment. Would have been quite right. Clearly his best. Not to be denied by the post. Strauss came to take the kick in, played onto himself, long outside the 50. Scully, creative hand pass to Jones, over to Bate, up to the 50. Green is all free. He'll go and gather. He's got someone working for him over the top in Miller. He hooks it round in that direction, and Miller takes the mark 15 metres out from goal. They constructed that quite well to have 2 men inside the 50 as targets and only 1 Hawk in the vicinity.
Good performance by Brad Green. What a comeback.
Brad Miller looking for his second goal. Booted 1 in the third. at the halfway point of the final quarter. Slight angle to deal with. Shouldn't be a problem. Marches in. Splits the middle. Melbourne are up to 7 goals, having taken until the 17.5-minute mark of the second term to boot their first. 17.52 to 17.15, 117.
I'll explain to you why they have two players back there. Hawthorn play this zone defence, and they are giving Melbourne, they're obviously so confident at the moment, they're pushing right up the ground to block up the middle of the ground, which doesn't allow Melbourne to get the ball through. Once you move it quickly and long into a situation, that's why they broke up and there was two back there on their own. The Melbourne players actually force up the ground, that stops that. And all of a sudden, they're in a bit of trouble if the ball comes in quickly. So Hawthorn, who are really good at it, you need to move the ball quickly against them and long into spaces to beat that zone.
Bounce back in the middle, Roughhead against Jamar. There was a push out. And the free kick is going to Roughhead. Usually the non-ruckman gives away the free. He finds Lewis. Lewis penetrates the 50 in the direction of Mitchell. He gives chase. The two captains against each other. James McDonald wins the race, but he takes it all the way to the boundary line. Nearly takes it out. He has taken it out. Was it out before he kicked it or out on the full? I think he took it out before he kicked it. And the boundary umpire is going to throw it in. About 45 metres around from the behind post. Chance for the Hawks. Jamar, big leap. But it's taken by Roughhead. He's dispossessed. Jamar regathers. A little hand pass away to Bennell, who bursts through them with pace, has a bounce, kicks to a vacant forward line. It says, get after that. Well, the only chance is Brad Green. It's tap back away from Green. He might win it yet. Well done by Greenie. He forces a stoppage he had no right to. Sensational for a man who was carted off earlier on the stretcher with a neck injury. He's come back and he gets pats on the head from all his teammates in the vicinity. Great stuff.
117 plays 52. These Demons fans have seen their team give a yelp. They started to give a yelp when they were 80 points down, was the one problem in it. Across the face of goal goes Lewis. It's a dicey kick. Bruce almost made the interception, but not quite. Ellis has it for Hawthorn. Delivers over the top. And getting there is Jared Taylor-Thompson. He's actually the one who runs forward to receive. He dabs it up the line. No Campbell Brown on this occasion. Frawley makes the spoil and puts it out of play.
Throw in centre wing right below the commentary box. Hope you're enjoying the sounds of football back on grandstand for the new season. Jamar in ruck. Comes to Sean Makers of Hawthorn. He gets his hand pass away. Well, down goes Shields. Is he holding it? Umpire. Ball held in. Might have been lucky to get away with one. The ball up. 117 to 52. Here's the bounce. Third man up was Morton. Comes to Morton again. His hand pass back where it's taken by Suckling. They're losing ground, but eventually Murphy goes the short pass and Schoenmakers takes the mark near the back edge of the centre square. From these positions, Hawthorn have been able to find men in the clear so often today. Kick by Schoenmakers. That's how, because Hodge charges hard at it, gives you a lead and takes the mark metres in front of Dunn. And now he kicks towards half forward and Morton, for about the third time in the movement, takes the mark, a kick and a half from goal. The kick by Morton in the direction of Roughhead. Nudged out of it by Frawley. Frawley gets away with it. Comes to Campbell Brown. Hand pass back to Mitchell. Oh, Mitchell shows them the ball. Takes it away from them. Glorious football into Hooper. Didn't go 15 metres, said the umpy. Back to Brown. Short pass. That didn't go 15 metres. Murphy centres the ball. Knocked away by Jamar. Thought it'd be a Hawthorn goal by now, but Melbourne have the pill.
They get themselves out of a tight spot. Maloney boots along. That's plenty more than 15. Spencer crashes the pack. No markers taken. Pedhard at ground level. Forced to panic a little by Ladson. He's coughed the footy out. Murphy works it around in just a little triangle to release Ladson. Now forward to Kayla Thompson. Hand pass out in front of Shields. Loads it up from 55 to the teeth of goal. Mark on the last line by Joel McDonald. Kicks it into the left back pocket. Frawley up over the top. He's kicked that to nobody in particular. Tackles are required. James McDonald's a calm head. Aaron Davey wants to go. He received the hand pass from Strauss. Just mishandled the footy, got himself into trouble. Gets the advantage of a free kick. Grimes runs on with it. Brings it up to Dunn. Sideways to Strauss in the forward half of the ground on this occasion. Now to Bate. He'll send it out to the left. And the Demons will come up with a goal for McKenzie. He's had a good afternoon, Geordie McKenzie, and he caps it with a goal. His first in AFL footy. 8-10-56 Melbourne. Hawthorn 17-15, 117.
Well, certainly moving the ball differently in this quarter than they have especially in the third quarter as well, and this quarter. They're getting some length, they're getting some run, they're moving the ball well. Maybe Hawthorn's getting a bit weary because they've played so well they've had 32 shots at goal and really controlled the game very, very well. But there's some goals coming, and I'm really pleased for the Melbourne supporters and the Melbourne players. We're starting to see some young fellas emerge. McKenzie's one of them. He's been terrific.
Bounce in the middle. We've hit the 22.5-minute mark of the last quarter. Jamar gets it down to Dunn, who somehow works it to Maloney. He kicks straight up the corridor to full forward. Green up, can't take the mark. It spills here at the back to Spencer. But given what we've seen today, I don't think he'll be getting it. Stack of players. He's pushing the back, says the umpire. And it'll be a Hawthorn free kick to Gibson, who's come up with cramp, the former Kangaroo.
Gee, they'd be very pleased with what he's produced today. If he can keep this sort of form up with this side, they'll become a very good player in their defensive unit.
Crowd's just been posted at 45,615. So on Thursday night there was 72. Last night 55. And 170, over 170,000 in 3 days. Here come the Hawks. Schoenmakers a short pass in. Easy mark dropped by Miller. It spills to Frawley. Hand pass back to Miller. Almost a blind hand pass. And it goes away to McDonald. And McDonald, Joel, clears for the D's.
It's not entirely out yet, though, because Caleb Thompson is trying to hold up against two Demons. He's done a pretty good job as well. And he doesn't get penalised, so he earns a stoppage for Hawthorn at right half forward. That crowd, Drew, is the biggest crowd that's seen these two teams play since 1999. So there are a lot of people clearly hanging out to see both Melbourne and Hawthorn for the first time.
The clue is get them in round one, get them early.
Bruce away from the stoppage, out to Miller. He took the mark, delivered inside the 50. That's where it ends. Murphy gets there to take the mark for the Hawks. Kicks it around sideways to Suckling. Brings it out to half-back now for Caleb Thompson. Just took his time, turned himself back toward goal. Hand passed it to Hodge. Sideways he goes. The Hawks just about putting the cue in the rack with the ball in the grasp of Suckling. They led by 56 at half-time, 71 at three-quarter time. Blew it out to 80 before Melbourne got themselves into it all. Hawthorn just went a little on the wane, depending on how you want to look at it. Now Hawthorn just working it around at the 25-minute mark. Hodge will pick up another mark and kick here.
So margin 59, so they've won the last quarter, Melbourne, which is the very least they could have come out with from today. Ball deep in the back pocket. Shields kicks over half-back flank. Oh, there's a mark for Spencer. The Melbourne fans give him the Bronx cheer, and he spears a pass into Jones, and Jones takes the mark. So well played, Jake Spencer.
Absolutely, and that was a very good mark. You could feel that, you could actually see the pressure coming on, you could feel it, but he stood his ground, kept going, kept his eye on the ball. Well done.
Played 6 games last year off the rookie list. Now, Nathan Jones for a goal. He's got the tattooed sleeve, one arm, tattooed from shoulder to wrist. He comes in and kicks from 40 metres, and it misses to the tattoo side for a behind. 8-11 to Hawthorn, 17-15.
Can you see the point of that tattoo on the arm, Drew?
Can't see a point of a tattoo anywhere.
Hawks on the kick in. Gillam's made good position, 40 away from goal against the boundary. Osborne makes a lead. He's ignored. Gillam's going to have to kick it longer. Jamar's well suited by the kick. He crunches it against significantly smaller opponents and marks. Gives it off to Maloney. whacks it at goal. It's well right all the way. You can have a shot. You want to get a little bit closer than that. It sneaks in for a behind. 57 points is the Hawthorn lead.
Does a tattoo do as much for you as dyed hair or Moreton Bay or something?
It's in the same vein.
Get back to the footy. Hawks have it in the back pocket with Luke Hodge again. Steers the pass up to Gillum. Gillum zigzags the ball short. Murphy marks. He goes out wide. And it is taken there by Kayla Thompson. Short all the time. This is pretty good. Birchall. And he gets it to Hodge, who had it in the back pocket. Now here is at centre wing.
What a kick.
What a run by Sammy Mitchell to take the mark, running in the same direction as the ball. He gets free. He puts the ball out in front, and a chance for number 19, who used to be Jason Dunstall, who's now Jared Morton, and it beats him over the boundary line. That was a fantastic kick by Luke Hodge, but what a mark it was by Sammy Mitchell as well.
Boundary throw in, Hawks inside the forward line. But for how long? Jones's hand pass is batted down. It remains in dispute. Joel McDonald back to Jones. Hand passes out to Jamar. He should kick the Demons beyond the defensive 50, and he does. Miller's up presenting. Hand passes to Maloney. Driving kick to an open forward line. Pettard leaps in and takes the mark. He can go back and have a shot should he choose.
The zone D again.
That's what happens. They just open up and give you a chance. And if you get it in there quickly with length, you catch them.
So will better sides be penalising him harder than Melbourne have?
Oh, absolutely. They wouldn't be doing it as hard as this because they're just so free and easy here today because they're so far in front.
I think the Hawks put the cue in the rack some time ago, actually.
Yeah, it's all over there.
You think it Easter Monday against Geelong?
Yes, I think they were exactly. Thoughts were not here.
Be some sort of game, that too, won't
I don't think Hodge put the cue back in the rack in that last passage of play.
After the siren, Ricky Pettard lines up for his third goal. He misses across the face, and the Hawks are big winners first up. They did a real number on Melbourne for 2.5 quarters. And whatever hope there was in the Demons camp was certainly quelled. At the end, they fought back. They kicked 8 goals, 13-61, but it was the Hawks 17-15, 117. Victors by 56. Kickers for Hawthorn. The spread was with Ruffhead 3 and Campbell Brown 3. 2 each for Osborne, Hooper and Moss, with singles to Ladson, Mitchell, Hodge, Morton and Peterson. For Melbourne, 2 for Miller, Pettard and Green, with singles to McKenzie and Jamar. Hawthorn 17-15, 117. Defeat Melbourne 8-13, 61. First up, win for the Hawks by 56 points. We'll have Adam White in the rooms of the Hawks. We'll bring you all the interviews there. We'll hear from the coaches a little later on, and all the analysis from Stan Elves and Mark McClure. And we invite you to add your voice to ours. 1300 222 774. As a Hawks fan, did you see enough? Did you see a better season on the horizon? Did you like Peterson? Did you like Hooper? And in particular, did you like Gibson? What about Melbourne? Was there enough? It wasn't for a while. There was a little something at the end. The first person to sit in judgment, though, is Mark McClure.
Thanks, Jared, and came along today with great expectations to see a good contest. That wasn't to be, but I did see a really good side in Hawthorn. They're back to their best of a couple of years ago. Had a poor year last year, but they've found some form in it. And really, when you think about it, they're set up. You know, they set plays. Every set play they have a position to stand in and go to, and they were just too good for Melbourne in that area. They won most of the ruck hit-outs. They won most of the, not hit-outs, but the takeaways. They won all the contested areas. They actually killed them in every shape and form. And that was solely, in fact, to Lewis and Hodge, who were just so strong and tough in that area. They are in and under. Hodge was outstanding. He was just sensational. It's just back to his best. As good as I've seen him play for 2 years. He was fantastic in every way, shape and form. I really like the way they go about it. They're set up around the boundary throw-ins. They're set up at kick-ins. They kicked 4 goals, I remember, from kick-ins that hadn't been touched by a Melbourne player on the way through, and they kicked 4 goals from that. They're set up forward. They're small forward pressure. Ran Hooper was terrific in that area. They also had Campbell Brown, who was just outstanding in that area. Osborne was there. Ladson was doing a bit of work in there in that area as well. And in the end, they put Mitchell down the forward line. Just give him a spell as well in the forward line. And what sort of pressure you get then? You get enormous pressure. And Jared Ruffhead can do his things. I like the lesser lights today. I looked at some of them. Osborne, Ladson, Brown, Hooper, Moss, Guerra, and Peterson, who actually didn't play in the last quarter. He was on the bench all the last quarter, but he did enough in the first 3 quarters to impress us. I'm certain of that. I don't know if they're going to beat the good sides without a ruckman. It's one of their big problems. I think that if you get a ruckman, they need a good ruckman in the middle of the ground. And they've only got one at the moment, Renoff, and he's struggling as it seems, and he's always injured, and he's just doesn't seem to be tough enough to get through a season or get through games. Against the good sides, they're going to struggle. But they were terrific today. They beat Melbourne and they set up very well. Melbourne, well, gee whiz. I don't know how to start. They were very, very poor early. They changed their game plan. They started this game plan. It's too short. They move it too short. And they showed in the second half that if you kick it long against sides and put it into to spaces where you can use your skills and all those sorts of things, I think they kicked 7 goals after half-time or something like that. I think it was about right. Or 6 goals after half-time to 2 in the first half. Was a pretty poor performance, but they've had the emergence of a couple of kids, and I like McKenzie. I thought McKenzie was their best player, actually, one of their best players on the ground. I think Strauss is, I don't mind, people say you shouldn't let him kick out. I like it. You've got to test kids, you've got to try things. I know they tested him pretty heavily, but they put him in a position where where you can find a bit out about him. Trent Grove's going to be okay, and Scully's going to be all right. Contested ball, I actually said before the game, if Melbourne win contested ball, no, they didn't win that one. Tackle count, no, they didn't win that one. And did I beat my man 18 blokes against 18 blokes? Well, they didn't win that one either. So, look, actually, it's going to be a very bad day for Melbourne. A lot of talk about them, a lot of press about this. Should have they signed the coach? I'm not certain.
Hawks by 56. We're into the rooms with Adam White.
Thanks for that, Jared. They're just starting to mill in now. I'm not overly excited. Jordan Lewis yelled out something. I don't know what it was when he arrived into the rooms, but as I said, nothing too joyous. Just casually walking in now. Gee, Carl Peterson's thin. Unbelievable. They're wanting all the new guys to go into the middle, and there's going to be quite a few of them as Rick Ladson comes past. How many hoopers in there? Gee, there's lots of them. Gibson, Peterson. Here they go. It's a very close huddle there as they did the song. Lance Franklin off to the side in the suit clapping. He'll be back shortly. It's ominous signs for the Hawks. Back to you, and we'll come back very shortly. Sam Mitchell to join us.
Great scenes here at the MCG. The centre wicket area, or the centre square, has been roped off, and there's thousands of kids and adults out there having a kick of the footy. The old traditions of the footy, kick after the game, alive and well.
So the Hawks kicked the first 4 goals straight after half-time. They led by 80, and from there, Melbourne kicked 7-7 to the Hawks 3-7. It sort of colours all the discussion as to what stock you put in that from an 80-point margin when it had to be done straight after half-time. That will, I'm sure, stir the feelings of plenty. Peter is in Darwin, so we'll start with an old friend on Saturday afternoon, 1300 222 774, an old Hawk friend at that. Peter, great to have you back.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jordan. It's great to be back too. And listen, I'm still waiting for that royalty check for the last couple of years I've been on your program, but we'll see what 2010 delivers. But I've got to ask first up in round 1, 2010, Mr. McClure.
Yeah.
How well did Franklin, Sewell, Rioli and Bateman and Young play today? Weren't they fantastic?
Been handy on the Melbourne side. Some idiot backed them, you know. Some idiot backed Melbourne. That was me.
We've got... sorry to cut you off there, Mark, but
that's okay.
It is Peter from Darwin here.
I know who you are.
I think we've got a fantastic 2010 year coming up, and the question I've got for you is just how important was it after you saw today's performance? And I know that Melbourne are not probably right up there in the top 8 teams of the competition, but how important is it not to have a real ruckman?
Well, I think you won't find out until you play someone who's pretty good, and I think you'll come up against them next week, against Geelong. Next week will be a really good guide. I think it's Easter Monday, Jared?
Yes, it is.
It is Easter Monday here. I think it's at the MCG too, isn't it?
Yep.
So you'll have a ripper crowd, big game. You don't have a ruckman against them, you'll work out that, you're really in trouble because you can't put Peterson in the ruck at 183 centimetres. He went in for one centre bounce. They had Roughhead a couple of times. They had Schollenmakers, I think, a couple of times. And really, J-Mar was too good for him in the air. He was better than Renoff during the game as when he was out there anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Good on you, Peter. We'll hear from you again, I'm sure. 1300 222 774. The Hawks by 56 over the D's.
I thought he was very easy on you today.
Soft, I would have called it. Soft.
I think
you don't want to go hard early.
He just softening you up for later in the season.
I'm not going to go soft to myself. I got rid of some money, though. I don't know why.
But it wasn't your money.
Very good. Stan, just before our Northern Grandstand audience and WA leave, just a 60-second snapshot and you can be more expansive later.
Yeah, what stood out to me today, Hawthorn, appetite. Appetite, they were hurt by last year. Appetite today. What stood out for them, second point, you're going to need depth. You're going to need depth during the year. The kids they brought in today, add the experienced players, Gibson and also Hooper, add that to them. They're going to have superb depth. They're on their way back. They look absolutely sensational. They're a cut above Melbourne. What we saw from Melbourne is a long, hard year ahead of them. But the great thing is that I thought the further the game went on, Scully, Trengrove and McKenzie, they look better and stuff like that. But I've got to tell you, I think they've got to get away from this fancy Dan overuse of the footy. Let's get direct, get the footy in, find out if the kids can win one-on-one contests and then develop your game from there.
More from Stan Els as the program unfolds. Final score at the MCG. First Saturday afternoon of the season. Broadcast nationally on Grandstand AFL. Hawthorn 17 goals, 15, 117 over Melbourne 8-13, 61. They led by 36 at quarter time, 56 at the half, 71 at three-quarter time and 56 at the close. So that coveted first up victory for Hawthorn, given the run they have from here with Geelong and the Bulldogs and Collingwood in consecutive weeks. It had to be a win. It was a real confidence booster for them. Hawthorn over Melbourne in front of 45,615 fans at an MCG now covered with kickers. What a sight. We continue on. We can go straight to the Hawthorn rooms. Adam White.
Thank you very much for that, Jared, and arguably the best player on the field today, Luke Hodge. Luke, congratulations on your own game, and it's 1-for-1 for the Hawks.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big, long pre-season, and just to get the first game out of the road and have a win, it's a good start, but we've got a big month ahead, which we're going to start focusing on from now.
We're just having a chat before we came down about, was it you guys really good early or Melbourne really bad?
Melbourne's first 15 minutes left for dead, I thought. They won majority of the clearances, and I thought they looked really good. And then I guess it was the bigger bodies that ended up coming out in the second and third quarter. But I can tell you what, Melbourne, in the next 5 years, their supporters are going to be real happy and watching some real good footy, because with their draftees that you've seen in today's paper, they've got a bright future.
As I look around some of your young guys, it's a very young-looking team. A lot of stars not playing for Hawthorn as well today. So really a good performance from Hawthorn.
Yeah, I guess that was we didn't have many positives out of last year, but one of the main things was getting a lot of the younger guys in Shields, Shoemakers, hoping to get a few games in their belt. And as you can see today, they come up, play their first game, and they look suited to the level of AFL.
And one more from me before we head upstairs. The difference of the pre-season. Jordan Lewis looks like he's lost a ton of weight, looks super fit. Yourself, you look a hell of a lot fitter than you did last year. No disrespect, but I mean, the pre-season, how important is it? Because neither of you guys had that last year.
Yeah, me and Lewis are known for holding a bit of putter in the gut. So look, to get through a full pre-season, I think the majority of the guys did as well. I feel like the boys are very fit, and I think it was just that's one of the main things to having a good year is just get a lot of miles in the legs through October to February, and just hope everyone holds up during the year.
Boys, up to you.
Hodgie, Renouf, is he okay?
Yeah, mate, I think so. I'm not sure if he finished the game off, but I think that was always going to be the case. If we got a good lead out, just to rest him up, because the way it's looking, he's going to have a fair load on his shoulders this year. So I think just to give him a bit of a rest in that last quarter.
Massive load on his shoulders. He's going to come up against a good one next week against Geelong, and you'll be starting to set yourselves now for that. You had a game last year where you led by 5 goals and let it slip, and you look a different side this year than you were last.
Yeah, we don't want to remember that game too much. That was forgotten in our memory. But as you said, look, it's always a good tussle between Geelong and ourselves. We both respect each other a lot, and I think it's going to be a good contest next week.
Did we see the Luke Hodge role that we can expect to come to see this year, Luke, or is it will be sort of at needs basis, and at times we'll go back and play that role across halfback?
I think I went across halfback in the last quarter because I couldn't run at all. I was absolutely stuffed. So I think towards the next couple of games I'll try and stay in the middle a bit longer, but we'll just sort of wait and see how the boys are and how Renouf's going in the ruck.
I thought another feature today that's probably worthy of notice that you talked about players who are missing and things like that. Critical thing you'll know throughout the course of the year, and probably appreciate as much as anything last year, and that's the need for depth. And the fact today that I thought there were some players who came in, certainly the acquisition of blokes who've been around for a while. I mean, Hooper and Josh Gibson just looked as if he'd never missed a beat in the Hawthorn jumper. But also, I thought Kayla Thompson and also young Peterson at times looked as if there's a real future of them in the side.
Yeah, you're right. Those guys you just mentioned, Kayla Thompson and Peterson, they're both a bit more mature than most of the rookies that get around these days. But as you can see, they're both suited to the game. And Hoops and Gibbo, they quality players, and we're just lucky to get them on our list this year.
Yeah, I was happy to see Brown play well today. I thought Brown was sensational up forward. His forward pressure and his team play, blocking and keeping people out of the way. It's terrific stuff. Good example.
Yeah, I think that's when Brownie plays his best football, when he's keen, when he's anxious, when he's around the ball, hitting up on lead-ups or else hitting bodies. So when Brownie's playing like that, it's a good sign for us.
How are you going to keep all those guys in if Rioli, Franklin, how are they going to... Ryan Hooper played a pretty good game. How's he going to hang on?
Tell you what, if he keeps playing like that and those chase and pressure, he'll get a game every week. If you're winning games of football and you're playing well and you're doing the team things, you'll stay in the side. And I think that's one of the main things that Clarko's talked about.
Has Jared Kayla Thompson got a nickname?
Pretty simple, it's just KT.
Well, I think that's what we'll be calling him. It's a lot easier.
It is very easy.
Now, boys, Luke's got to leave us. He's being fair to us. He's the only one left. They've got the meeting with the coach and also the pizzas. Hey, Luke, what's your favourite pizza?
No, we're not allowed to eat them. That's for all those pizzas for Ruffy.
Very good. In fairness to Luke, they're all sharing their pizzas. Jared did have one to himself.
Right, be able to eat it in one bite, wouldn't he?
Just a lovely little side note to the end of the day. Luke Hodge, captain of my dream team, 284 points on the double-up. Just God bless him.
Yeah.
God bless Zipping and God bless Luke Hodge.
Yeah.
Full board of calls after the Hawks' 56-point win over Melbourne. Rod is on the Gold Coast. Rod, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon. Look, I just want to make one comment. Melbourne's got to have a look at what Geelong do. They didn't start training until January. Melbourne started training 6 weeks after the season finished. And I said to my wife and the family, I said, they're going to be exhausted by round one. And that's exactly what's happened. So they've got to take a hard look at themselves and get rid of some of this old-fashioned training, that more and more training is good. What do you think of that? Maybe Stan Ells could answer that one.
Yeah, look, it's not a simple... Look, it seems simple on the outside, and I can understand that, Rod, but I guess it's what you're dealing with, and I'm unsure of what they were doing. I would like to think that in that period of time that what Melbourne were doing was, which was I was hoping, was that they were spending more time, and this is how we want you to play, rather than the physical aspect of, having people running hard in the gym and burning them out and stuff like that, because that's the area that they're going to have to improve on. I think the other thing too is that you've just got to be very careful with, and I'm interested in your comments, even the feedback from this point of view. Sometimes the fact now that you've got these young kids, and I'm talking obviously about Trengrove and Scully and McKenzie, but even a kid like Watts, sometimes you can overburden them with too much because you want them to come up and be good straight away, and you can actually do more damage to bodies than allow them just to develop in a progression. Because what we saw today is those kids out there today who played, Talnability, there's no question whatsoever. When the pace went out of the game and they were able to play on their terms, they're going to be great players. But when they had to match bodies with bigger and stronger players, they just got brushed away.
Thanks, Rod. Rob is in Wodonga. Rob, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
Oh, good on you, thanks. Hawthorn have got Roughhead and Franklin. Why wouldn't they leave them up the forward line and just develop a game plan to play against the losing ruck? I don't understand the importance of a ruck man at the centre bounce or the boundary throwing.
Well, it's just the strength they have and where they can position the ball and where they can put it and place it. And if you set up well around them and you have a good ruckman who can place the ball, and we saw it the other night with Warnock and Cruiser on Thursday night. If you watched that game, the amount of ball that they got to their smaller players around the ground was enormous. And it just makes their load a bit easier. Today, I think Hawthorn will have to play to a losing ruck because I don't think Renu's good enough, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think the other point, and I don't know which one, how do I put this, but I think sometimes we devalue the impact of ruckman. Too many people over how many hit-outs we got, how many kicks they got around the ground. I'd like to look at what happened when you hit the ball, because so often what a big, good, strong ruckman can do is he can actually smash into packs, and he can do some damage to the other side's midfield that help your players. Now, that's where they've got to be careful. If you can find something to do that, my concern with today was that I had my heart in my mouth from a Hawthorn perspective, because when Roughhead went into the ruck, you're thinking, gee, he could get hurt here. And and what happens if you're doing that, and along the lines you're saying, Rob, is that you actually take two guys who are really strength together, but the minute they go into the midfield, your strength becomes a weakness because they're not good in that area.
Let's head to Bendigo. We're with John. Fire away, John.
I can speak to Mark McClure, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, John.
Yeah, it's basically, firstly, you've got to play direct and get into a leading central position, and even if the player, once the ball's bouncing in the centre, I find this is what White Hills don't do in Overneath League. They've got the talent, but they don't perform it. And I think you've got to have your right matchups and everything like this. But you get the player nearest to the player with the ball from your team, and try and work really hard in the centre to then eventually create the space to go central on every occasion to split up the leading forwards.
I think what you're saying is you're trying to bring the ball back through the middle of the ground and use the middle of the ground so you can bring it in. Now, Melbourne didn't do that. Melbourne went wide. Hawthorn try and do that a hell of a lot, but they've got such a powerhouse in Lewis and Hodge that just, really sort of demand that, and Mitchell, who demand the ball to come back in through there, and they know how to create space. Is the big key to the Hawthorn thing. They understand that if I can't get the ball, I don't mind moving out of the way to give someone else a chance to get it, and that is the teamwork that you need. Thanks, John.
Let's stay with the Demons and head over to Perth and join Peter. Peter, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I'd just like to comment on Melbourne delisting Russell Robinson and keeping their captain James McDonald. We've now got a plethora of James McDonalds at the Melbourne Football Club. It was obvious today that we needed more up forward. Wouldn't they have been better off staying with Russell Robinson for one more year?
That's an argument, isn't it, Stan?
At any other football club.
Oh, well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not here to say that, but you're talking about Russell Robinson, whether he should stay or not. Well, they made that decision. They weren't happy with the way that Russell played. I mean, I know he's a focal point, but some of the other things that he didn't do, with the example that he set, was that one of the problems that he had. He didn't chase, and he was always on the ground. And all those. I think that's what they were upset about with Russell Robinson. There's no doubt that he kicked 2 or 3 goals a week, and there's no doubt that he could do that. Miller does it as well, but. Look, it's a difficult thing to say. I mean, Essendon got rid of Lloyd. He kicked 900 goals, 800 odd goals, and I still reckon he's up to playing league football. If Melbourne got him, they'd be a lot better off. They do need a tall forward. You're right. Jamar's their best one up there, but he's got to play in the ruck.
Yeah, and that's where they need... And the other bloke who plays okay when they're there is Johnson, who's out, the injured other ruckman. So if they had the two, they could probably do that. But you're right, and I think that, Mark, that stood out to me that when you've got a couple of players who are in that Melbourne forward line today, you can say what you like, but there is no confidence in the group up the field to kick to them. And that was exemplified when Brad Green, who showed an enormous amount of courage to come back, could have possibly had a severe injury, obviously was passed okay. When he came back and went in the forward line, he just showed you, he knows how to lead. He's probably not physically equipped, but he got to the right spots and he presented, he did things, and they just looked a different side. I know the pressure went off in the game, the further the game went off, but when all of a sudden he was there, all of a sudden you found the Melbourne players, instead of looking little 10 metres to the sideways, were actually looking up the field and kicking it long to either he or even Pettard. Like Pettard missed opportunities he should have kicked, but when the ball went in quickly to those players, they looked far better. But it was this problem I thought with Melbourne earlier, this tendency to want to give all these handballs, and they picked the footy up and they were looking sideways. Their first thought wasn't down the ground, so all of a sudden it was a reaction, and so often they gave it to a bloke who was in a worse position. Whereas I think Hawthorn, the difference with Hawthorn gives the ball, there's method in it, and if you give it to somebody, even if he's under pressure, it's the second and third effort that you run on. A lot of the Melbourne players give the handball and then stop. They think they're out of the game rather than becoming a secondary option as well.
John, Peter, is it? Sorry, Peter, you've obviously played footy, and one of the things that if you ever played down back, the worst thing that can ever happen to you if you're in a defender is the ball coming in quickly.
Yeah.
The easiest thing for a defender is the way Melbourne played. Kick it sideways, kick it short, do that. Let me tell you, it's the easiest thing to do is defend on those sorts of things and push it wide, and that's where they played. If you get the ball in there, Josh Gibson doesn't look all that good. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. Matty Scarlett's in trouble when the ball comes in quickly. So it's about the speed of the ball coming in to the forward line. Doesn't matter who you got up there.
Good on you, Peter. Hawthorn 17-15, 117 defeated Melbourne this afternoon 8-13, 61. To Mildura and John. John, welcome aboard.
How you going, guys?
Good.
A couple of quick comments. I'll make it as brief as possible. But with Hawthorn, I think it's a bit, stupid almost for people to have jumped off them as quick as they have when you consider the injuries and the difficulties with getting a team up after going so deep into September. And the other one about Brisbane, I don't really rate their recruits that much, the ones that are taken in from other teams, and I think the whole Voss thing seems to have overshadowed the actual quality of the players brought in.
Well, that's the theme of the season for Brisbane. It's a high-stakes gamble that Michael Voss has entered into. If it pays off, they'll make the top four. If it backfires, they'll miss the 8. And anywhere in between, if they simply match what they did last year, then they probably lose. But we haven't seen them yet.
No, and the other side of that, Jared, to me, is that I get the impression that Michael Voss has looked at his side. He's gone through a final last year, and he said, I'm not going to have Black, I'm not going to have Brown, and I'm not going to have these type of players in the next power. I'm not going to have them in 2 or 3 years' time. I cannot go through just youth. I've got to get people who I think can come in and give us now. Now, the dreadful risk he runs as well is that he may even produce a side that could possibly get to a final and do well in the finals. But let me tell you, when those players all go, they're all going to go at the one time. What's going to come through after that? Where's the development thing? I think that's also the massive risk that he runs in this situation. I don't know how long he wants to stay in the game, but if somebody's going to come after him, what are they going to inherit?
Yeah, I mean, that's all subjective at the moment. I think Raines will have a really good season with the Lions, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's part of the intrigue of tonight and certainly the first half of the season. We'll broaden our discussion as well beyond Hawthorn and Melbourne in just a moment, because I know Mark wants to expand his thoughts on Matthew Lloyd, but let's just work through the details. The numbers in a moment, but Stan, you're just what happened this afternoon? What did you take out of it?
Well, my take out of it was that, as you would expect in coming to the situation, high expectation, everybody's pumped in the rooms, everything like in that situation. Both sides going in with massive number of changes, and with Hawthorn, I think a lot of them were pushed on them because of injuries to key players. So we had a number of players who were in there, and we didn't know how they were going to fit and how they were going to gel in this side. We didn't really know how Hawthorn was going to come back and respond after that poor year they had last year. Melbourne, so much expectation, but I think the focus was on the young kids. How would they go? But also, I said this from the outset, is that what sort of game plan were we going to see today? What was going to evolve? How are we going to come away from that Well, after the first 4 minutes, to be quite honest, when I think Melbourne really shocked Hawthorn and shocked most of us here, Mark called for the siren because he had actually backed them and he thought here's a chance because they're in front. But even at that point of time, I'm going to make this point. They actually dominated play, but because of inability to actually hurt the side on the scoreboard, they didn't nail shots that they should have got. Then we saw Hawthorn regroup, and we saw that hey, the hunger is back. You make no bones about it. That were challenged, and let me tell you a little bit about that. Their midfield. Any side that can any time can line up and just have Hodge and Mitchell and Lewis in there for a start, they're going to be okay. And they just took control. They took this game by the scruff of the neck and they said, come and follow me, guys. Down the back half, it came together. Gibson fitted in like a hand in a glove, with Birchall and also Ellis and Gillam and those type of players and Guerra and stuff like that. So they were able to get numbers back. They held their formation. And also because there was pressure over the ground, when the ball was able to go in by Melbourne, they just outnumbered them, then they rebounded. They went into a forward line, never had Franklin today down there, never had a Rioli down there. But let me tell you, Ruffhead, if he had a kick straight, he could have kicked the bag full. His work with Brown, Hooper at the ground level. This kid Peterson, boy, when he turned it on, he is absolutely sensational. And the game was all over. It was just all over. They monstered them, they played at their terms. And it was only late in the game when the pressure went off, and I've got no doubt Hawthorn's thoughts were not about this game. They'll say otherwise, but I think they'll start to think again to Easter Monday and playing against Geelong. And when they did, all of a sudden, Melbourne found some time and space. Melbourne, to be quite honest, under pressure were in disarray. I was disappointed in that what happened was that Melbourne got sucked in. Playing a stronger side, you do not go in and create packs. But at no stage did I see people trying to spread the load, spread out, open the space up. Let's try and see if we can catch them out with leg speed. Why I say that is because when the pace went out of the game and the heat went out of it, and Melbourne were able to do that, for the first time they looked good. They looked good. Green, real tick on the back for him because I thought that he was sensational at coming back on. He was a spark and he gave him something to go to. But coming out of that, again, it's just, to me, it just tells me that the coach and his whole committee, they've got a lot of work to be able to show them how to play a game of football, a brand of football that will win. At this point of time, there's not there. And a lot of it's because they've got kids. But the pluses to me, the pluses were the fact that I thought that when I look at that thing, Scully, Trengrove and McKenzie, I thought they were fantastic. Further the game went on. They can see why they're class kids. They're going to be good. And guess what? They know how to use the footy when they get a chance in that point of view. And the other thing that really took my eye was young Grimes. I liked what he did last year and he just went on today. Anybody can stand up in the heat of battle, playing across the back line and can win your footy and just turn again and rebound the ball and get it back into it. They were the pluses for them. The Hawks are back. They're hungry. They're going to be a much better side. Certainly missing Ruckman, I know that. But when they get the players are out coming back, they're going to have extended depth and things like that. Really good start for the year for Hawthorn. Melbourne are going to go terribly dispirited. I think that Dean Bailey's got a massive job now to regroup this group of people, sit down and determine where we want to go. It's not the end of the world. It's certainly not. But the reality is they've got to be better than what they showed today.
Hawthorn by 56. Jared Cameron, the stats from the day.
Thanks, Jared. Luke Hodge had 34 possessions to be the game highest possession winner. He had 25 kicks and 9 hand passes. Lewis, Birchall and Mitchell all 27. Suckling and Josh Gibson in his first game for Hawthorn had 22. Ellis, Sladson and Murphy all 21. For Melbourne, Frawley, Bruce and Jack Trengove on debut all had 23. Trengove had 7 kicks, 16 hand passes with 8 contested possessions. Grimes, James McDonald and Joel McDonald all 21. Thomas Scully in his first game had 20 possessions, 9 kicks, 11 hand passes with 9 contested possessions. Overall, Hawthorn had 62 more possessions than Melbourne. They had 247 kicks to 175, but Melbourne had 10 more hand passes, 176 hand passes to Hawthorn, 166. Inside 50s went Hawthorn's way, 62 to 44. Marks, Hawthorn, 133 to 83. Contested possession was narrowly to Hawthorn, 126 to 124, but Melbourne had just 13 contested possessions in the forward 50 to Hawthorn's 24. Jared Ruffhead leading the way with 6 of those contested possessions. In the ruck, it was Melbourne 36 to 25, although the clearances were narrowly Hawthorn 31 to 29. And Dream Team points,
please.
Luke Hodge was the game high with 142, so you'll be happy with that. Mitchell 112, Lewis 109, Birchall 106 and Cameron Brown and Sean Makers both 94. For Melbourne, Geordie McKenzie, 105 points. James McDowell, 99. Grimes, 93. Bruce and Brad Green, both 88. And Winton Dunn had 87 Dreamtime points.
And what about the two debutants at Trengove and Scully? Because a lot of people have them in the team.
Trengove had 65 Dream Team points and Scully 61 points.
Very good. That's the statistical analysis from the afternoon.
Very good. You can't run the smile off your face.
Oh, well, it's only one out of my 18. I've got Scully. I've got Grimes too. I wasn't at all unhappy with
he's very
Grimes.
Good. No, he's a good kid.
Whitey's got him too, literally. Whitey.
Thank you very much for that, Jared. Jack's been waiting patiently. Jack, it's never easy to do an interview after a loss, particularly in round one, so we appreciate your time. What went wrong early?
Oh, obviously they just came out and jumped us early, and we just didn't have the intensity that they had, and it was, like you said, pretty disappointing when there's such a big build-up to round one, and then you come out and your intensity is just not good enough. So, yeah, it was disappointing.
Because you came into this game as a group fairly confident that you're going to put up a really good showing. Hawthorn had quite a few of their star players out. So what's the mindset when you go in pretty confident and then 15 minutes into the game you're looking at the scoreboard going, gee, what's going on?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't how we expected the start to go, but like at that stage we sort of just have to look to each other and get the guys like the leaders to stand up, and like obviously it took a while for that to do so, like till the second half, but that's what I think was disappointing, that we didn't sort of flick that switch earlier and we sort of let them run away with it and the game was sort of over. So it was disappointing in that sense, but then like I suppose the positive out of it, we did fight out the second half pretty well. So.
Have you had a chance to chat to your coach yet? Has there been a message to come out of it that's sort of sitting in your mind?
No, we're about to go into the meeting now, I think, but I think that'd be the main thing, just the start, the intensity at the start, and obviously that's something we've got to work on because we can't afford to do that anymore because all the good teams will just put us away early in the game, and we need to have a chance early so we can, again, fight out the second half and hopefully be a chance to win.
Boys, Jack's got time for a few questions before he goes into the meeting.
Jack, could you rate your own game for us, your own performance today? I thought you were very good, but give us your analysis of your performance.
Yeah, I wasn't overly happy with my performance, and obviously it's sort of disappointing as well when you're playing and the team's going as like it did today. But I thought there's a lot of things that I sort of need to work on, like going with sort of playing on Hodge early. He got away from me a couple of times and that sort of thing. So, but it's all a learning curve for me, and it was a first game in the midfield at the start, so I'm still learning. But yeah, I don't think my sort of, like everyone else in our team, I think my intensity was up to scratch at the start of the game.
Jack, halfway through the first quarter it was pretty evident that you were underpowered and you were overpowered by the opposition. Was there much talk amongst your players, or were you just all just hoping like hell that something was going to happen?
I think that was one of the positives out of the game, is the talk was always up, the spirit seemed up, but we just sort of couldn't get our hands on the ball. So it was disappointing that because the talk was up, we couldn't really turn it around on the scoreboard. But it was a lot better in the second half. But it's a lot easier to have the talk up and spirit up when your team's going a bit better. So
did you notice that you in the second half when you banged it long, you actually had some trust in your forward line, that the game thing changed, the whole thing changed around instead of that short chip sideways wide?
Yeah, well, that's what we've got to aim to do. We need to try to get our forwards one out and get in long when there's a bit of space down there. When we hold on to the ball too long, the forward line clogs up and it can be very hard to hit a forward target. So I think we'll take that into next week because it was obviously a lot more effective in the second half when we went long and direct. So, but again, it was like that was a positive out of it. When we did go long and direct, we could see that it worked. So I guess we take that into next week.
Jack, I'm interested. You played midfield a bit today, and you've been playing cross half back in that area. I just wondered what the thought process as we watch this game. Now, Hawthorn have got big, strong bodies. I noticed that at a lot of the bounces, the centre bounces, that what happened was that your forward and defensive area, they actually ran in and clogged everything up. It actually brought their opponents in as well. And there were a number of times, for example, where a Melbourne player might win the ball in the midfield and they're about to break, but what happened was other people just come in and crashed them. Was there any thought about, now let's try and keep this game open, because when you were able to break it open, you do have good leg speed and you could perhaps have hurt them?
Yeah, obviously that's what we try to do, is get out in the open, out in space, and it can be hard sometimes when the centre circle's so clogged up like it was sometimes today. But also we want our forwards and that coming in and having influence when they can, so especially if Hawthorn win the ball so they can tackle and put pressure on. But it does work the other way sometimes as well, because their opponent does follow them. It can clog it up for us as well.
one of the real positives today was Brad Green. I mean, when Greenie went down and it just looked very nasty, and I thought just gave you a real lift when he came back on. He was just fantastic. Went down the forward line, was a real general, and provided that leadership and found the space and set you up, and you looked the better side for it. Have you had a chance to have a talk to him? Is he and any sort of feedback on how his injury is?
Oh no, I asked him after the game how he was, and he normally just says he's fine, even if he might not be. So, but he looks good. He looked a bit out of it when he went off, but he looked a lot better when he came back on. And after the game, I'm sure he's got a bit of a headache, but he looked pretty good. So, but it was pretty inspirational to see him come back on and have an impact in the second half as well. And after copping a heavy knock like that, still was able to put his head over the ball.
Jack, appreciate your time. Hope next time we chat in victory.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Jack Grimes with us there in the Melbourne rooms. It's Hawthorn 17-15, 117 over the Demons, 8-13-61. Is qualifying over at Albert Park? Might just get Steve Pearce to have a quick...
It looks as though, and actually it sounds like it is, because when the cars were whizzing around, you could hear them from here.
It's just a pause in the session. Anyway, Steve Pearce is going to keep a close eye on that, and will keep us up to speed on what happens with Webber, actually, who's the shot says are about to go back out onto the track. So we'll see where he qualifies for tomorrow's Australian Grand Prix. Let's broaden our discussion to all the events of the weekend. Basically, anything that's on your mind in footy. Stan Elves and Mark McClure, happy to talk it over with you. Mark, in a moment on the Essendon situation, his thoughts on the decision that was made with Matthew Lloyd. But Bart is in Darwin, who does want to talk about something from last night. Bart, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
G'day guys, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, look, I'll put it up front. I'm a Collingwood supporter, but I have watched two games of football, the one on Thursday night and the one on Friday night. And has there been a change in the rule on pushing in the back? Because I watched Brownlow medalists drive blokes into the ground last night with tackles. And nothing comes of it.
This is Greg Baum's point earlier in the day. As an overriding point, and there were specifics, I actually like the way that the umpiring has started off, inclined to overlook rather than over-umpire, and then, as you say, 4 rounds in, that's when we get our real guy. I would rather they start like this than start...
than the ticking touchwood stuff, because it breeds, let's attack the footy. But look, there were certainly ones that happened, and I'm sure that Bart, and we talked about this at length, is that they let a lot go that you would expect that should have been paid. And I just said this. I think it generally is just a settling, and there has not been a change in the rule. And the reality is that if a person's going for the footy and somebody comes in the back, to me that person must have been the ball. The person who was in, he's gone to make the play. He's got to be more of a tuning. If he's just driven in the back, well, he should be getting the free kick.
Good on you, Bart. Tony is in Hawthorn. Tony, hello.
Hello.
Yes, go for it, Tony. You're on air.
Thanks, Joe. Look, certainly enjoyed the game today as a Hawthorn supporter. Plenty of positives, young kids getting into it, which is great to see. I do have concerns about Jared Ruffhead, though, as a forward. Missed a lot of goals, obviously, dropped chest marks, just real... didn't look like a forward to me. What do you think?
I actually reckon he was sensational today in the way he attacked the ball. I thought he was terrific. He probably could have kicked 6 or 7. His kicking is the one that worries me. His actual kicking for goal. He's never been a pure kick, and he's got to work a formula where he can actually get his averages up slightly, because he's never going to be absolutely perfect, as long as it just not going to happen, because that's the way he kicks the ball. But there's other ways you can actually work around and sort of say, well, he's going to get 60% or 70% of the kicks. Today he got 30%. And I think that was the area he got let down. I thought his actual work around the forward line to assist his teammates was really good. He took some reasonable marks. He dropped a couple of ones he should have taken as well. I understand where you're coming from, but I think you're a little bit tough on him.
I think the other thing I'll just say is that always the first few weeks of a season, the big men take a while. I mean, you can go through practice games, but one of the hardest things to do in our game is to take an overhead back mark in that situation. And so, therefore, I thought he was fantastic. I've given him ticks nearly every quarter. I just made notes like presenting well, leading up, leading in division, second efforts, putting pressure on, all those different things. I've got no doubt that if he'd come back and he'd kicked the goals that he should have kicked, and I think that was his problem. I mean, he seemed to have about 3 or 4. If he'd nailed them today, we would be actually saying, gee, I don't know if there's a place for Franklin.
But that's his action, though.
Yeah, that's
his
right.
action.
Yeah, I had no problem with him up until he was having shots from the goal.
So he kicked 3-5 today. Interestingly, when the goal kicking was a hot issue in the first half of last year, he was the player who was kicking best. He finished the season with 51-27, and we heard stories of the amount of work he does at practice. Now, I'm happy to be corrected on this, but he didn't kick the same way last year as he did today. He has clearly altered his process.
Yep.
And it didn't work for him today. It's obviously been working for him in practice, otherwise he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what happens from here.
He shortened his run-up.
No doubt.
And to me, the thing that gets you least balance is a short run-up.
Yeah.
You need to have more balance. When he kicks the ball on the run, he kicks it beautifully.
Not only that, that if you just think psychologically, if you're taking 10 steps in, you go back 10, and by the time you kick it, you're probably 4 from the bloke. But today, he was taking 4 steps, but he was only going back 5. So he was nearly kicking into the bloke on the mark.
He did it one stage. The bloke touched it on the mark.
And it still went through for a goal post time.
Huge. But, so he's a good player and he's got some things he can improve on, like everyone else in the world.
So, speaking of forwards, what's your take on the Lloyd thing? Was you big on that?
Well, I am, and I was worried about it last year. I couldn't believe that Matthew Knights had actually, I think it's disposed of. He didn't want him or wasn't actually wanting him to stay, and I can't understand why. Gumbleton sort of, to me, last night, and I didn't see all of the game, but he didn't perform as a forward and look like a forward. Nagel doesn't have enough tricks, in my humble opinion. Hill's probably, he hasn't played for a year, so and Monfils goes okay. You know, Monfils is a good kid and he's a good player, but that's really. Why wouldn't you want to hang on to Matty Lloyd?
Well,
I just can't work out why.
Well, Matthew did tell us this when we were working with him last year, that in the speaking with Matthew Knights, that Matthew Knights said that I don't think you're going to be here when we really make an impact in the finals. And the problem we've got at the moment is that when the ball goes forward, he just draws the ball, and they needed to have other options and develop people. That's why last year, if you remember when he was playing, he never really played him full forward. He played him up the ground, everything like that. So not saying it's right or wrong, but that was the reason that was given to Matthew why.
Yeah. I appreciate all that, but you are judged on results.
But as a veteran, wouldn't he be able to play a season close to goal and let other blokes lead out towards the pockets and out towards the 50 and past the 50?
Yeah.
But if he played within 30 metres of goal, he's going to kick you 60, isn't he?
Let me say this to you, Drew. He can play. If Matty Knights doesn't want him on the ground, he can actually take him off the ground. They have 4 reserves there. They have an opportunity to run him for 15 minutes a quarter. So there's 15 minutes to develop the other guys as well, or 20 minutes to develop the other guys. I think he's made a fatal mistake, and he may pay a price for it, because you are paid on results, you are employed on results, and I don't see a forward line where they can kick a score.
Part of development is winning.
Yes.
It's not losing.
I agree.
And unfortunately, they've sabotaged their forward line because, and would everybody in the box who had Gumbleton in their dream team say I?
No. I did, do I? Did you put him in for me?
Correct.
You dragged me down too.
He's not ready, and I don't blame him, because he's only played half a dozen games, but he's not ready. He got touched up by Lonergan last night. Imagine when the elite backs go and play on him. I mean, he has to be given a chance to go and dominate VFL footy, in my opinion. They'll probably play him for 10 straight games and see if he can find his feet there, but I think that's as unfair as having the kid kicking in today for Melbourne. I mean, don't crush blokes like Zach Dawson, who end up being collateral damage on the way through.